Bat family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com, and you can find Holy BatCast on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. What else? Got to give a shout out, as always, to our patrons. Our patrons, you guys are awesome. If you want to support the show, you can go to Patreon. Go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And yeah, that would be amazing. And so I got to give a shout out to a couple of our new patrons. What do we got here? We got Giuseppe Vicaretti. And he was a previous patron, but he did up his pledge, which was super sweet. So thanks, Giuseppe. And I hope I'm saying that right. And then we also have a new patron, Robert Talbert. So, Robert, thank you. Welcome to the family. I really do appreciate it. So, Robert and Giuseppe, you guys are awesome. And you guys get to be patrons on our 400th episode. So that's amazing. So, no, thank you guys so much. Thank you to these gentlemen, and thank you to everybody who's already been a patron. It really does mean the world to us, and I hope you know that you're appreciated. It just makes everything so much easier. So again, if you want to do that, you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. If you don't, it's okay. It's fine. No worries. We love you anyway. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DeGenova. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Letterboxd. It's just my name, Andy DeGenova. As I said, it's our 400th episode. And as luck would have it, or as fate would have it, whatever, our 400th episode is looking at the latest and greatest and very exciting new DC film, The Flash, one that we've been waiting for a long time. It's finally out in theaters now. Y'all have seen it. Everybody's seeing it. We're going to talk about The Flash for our 400th episode. And joining me, I have two of our regular Bat pals and a very special guest who actually has become something of a regular Bat pal herself. But we'll get to that. Anyway,
to do with it.
You guys play nice. Well, he talked first, so it's Brendan. Hey, Brendan.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Happy 400.
Happy 400. Wow.
Damn, y'all. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. Glad we could make the time.
It's been a little while.
Not
in terms of episode release, but in terms of recording, it's been a while.
Yeah, I know, and it ain't gonna get better over the next month or so.
No.
Just to warn you. That's fine. But good to have you back. Happy Flash weekend. You know, comes with all of the fun of every new DC movie.
That's putting it spot on, actually. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about that great stuff. Also joining us, it's Jamie Drewley. Hi, Jamie.
Hi.
And how are you?
Hey, it's episode 400, so congrats everybody. Big accomplishment.
Man, I know it's crazy, but good to have you.
Yeah, we'll find out soon enough if it's good to be here. But
man,
you know how I usually used to have to drink to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if I'm slurring like an hour into this episode.
Terrific. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Jamie's gonna Jamie. And that's okay. That's why we love you. Anyway, also we have a very special guest, and I think actually on the last episode I did mention she requested to join. And obviously the door's always open. Mostly because I want to sleep in my bed. But it's my favorite co-host and my lovely wife, Kathrynn DeGenova. Hi, Kathrynn.
Hi, Annie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Congrats on 400, babe. And other babes.
Thanks.
All three of you.
Crazy.
Welcome,
all the babes.
What if instead of Brendan and I just fighting this whole episode, it turns out Brendan and I love each other even more?
We turn Andy into the cuck.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll sit in the shadowy corner. It's okay. Just like
wait. Before we continue down this road, did you guys get the pineapple off your porch yet?
No, we added one. Yeah. Anyway, honey,
I told that story to somebody at work the other day, and they lost it.
Oh my god,
just lost it.
I want to know why a pineapple.
I know why a pineapple.
That's another conversation the four of us can have.
Yeah, I'll do some fun Googling before bed.
Oh, great.
Anyway, glad that all of you are here, and then everybody listening, welcome. Let's take care of a little business. First of all, got to give a shout out also to our friends over at Manscaped, manscaped.com. They got everything that you need for below the waist grooming and above the waist now. They've branched out, and Manscaped has all kinds of good products for you to keep your grooming habits in check. So they have the platinum package, which, like I say, is like the sampler package. So if you go there, you want to check something out and you don't know what to pick, the performance package is a great way to try a lot of everything. And they're so nice to give us the promo code BATSCAPED, BATSCAPED, BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. So a huge thank you to Manscaped. And for anybody out there listening, go to manscaped.com. Again, just do a little perusing, do a little browsing, see if anything speaks to you. The Lawnmower 4.0, which is their basic, and basic's the wrong word, but it is their primary trimmer, let's say that. It's the best one that you can find. So if you are in the market for a trimmer for your face or otherwhere, yeah, pick up the lawnmower. It's really terrific. I've been using it for years, and I highly recommend it. They have the weed whacker for nose and ear hair. They've got deodorant, body wash, shampoo, ball deodorant, ball toner, boxers. Oh my God, they have a little bit of everything. So yeah, if you're looking to up your manscaping game, go to Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. And again, use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. I use it every day. I'm a big fan. I spend my own money to buy it. It's terrific. So and I know that Jamie and Brendan have enjoyed it as well, and Kathrynn enjoys it like by extension, just because
Oh, yeah.
I smell like Manscaped, and so she gets to enjoy that.
It smells good.
That's
My
good.
son is now using these products too,
Hey,
Oh, nice.
they're perfect.
which I'm not sure I'm ready for him to use things that are like manly, but
Just growing
that
up.
son of a gun, he isn't even 15 yet. He's already 6'1". Lord.
Jesus.
I'm not shocked though, Jamie. You're
Yeah.
I know we come from the land of the giants, but I'm 6'4". I told him he's capped at 6'3".
Wow.
I think he's going to hit that before fall.
Wow.
That is it's intense.
It's a little
But I'm
much for
glad
me
to
to
hear
say.
he's using it. That's good. Teach him the hygiene young. Important.
Right.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, go to manscaped.com, use that promo code BATSCAPED. And just like with the patrons, thank you guys. Everybody who has gone to Manscaped, made a purchase, and used the promo code. Thank you. It really, really helps us out. You guys don't even realize because because of that, they continue sponsoring the show, which we're super grateful for. And so thank you to everybody who's made one of those purchases, because you get something good for you. Manscaped gets your business, and we get support from Manscaped, so everybody wins. So it's terrific. So I just want to thank all of you who've done that, and thank Manscaped for their continued support. Appreciate that too. Something else I wanted to acknowledge before we get to the main event is this episode is coming out on Father's Day. So happy Father's Day
Happy Father's
to
Day
everybody.
to you.
Huh?
Happy Father's Day to you,
Yeah, you're a
Brendan
dad.
and Jamie.
Thanks.
I can't join in the celebrations yet. Ours is until September.
Okay,
Oh, weird.
well,
Okay,
screw
so
you.
yeah, so happy Father's Day to everybody, every father except Brendan.
Well, except Australian dads.
No, just you.
We
Just
can
you.
wait.
Yeah.
You do
but
everything else backwards down there. This doesn't surprise me.
ain't that the truth? So being Father's Day, I want to dedicate this episode to all the fathers, but I also want to dedicate this episode to my father, because I lost him last week. And oh man, already, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Yeah, I'm okay. But yeah, I lost my dad last week, and you guys who listen to the show have been listening for years. Like I've unfortunately had to dedicate different episodes to different family members over the years. But this is my dad, and the fact that it's Father's Day weekend, it's weird timing and it's not ideal timing. But I only have so many avenues to pay tribute to him and to celebrate him and his life, and I wanted to do it here too. Because I consider you guys my family, and I've I've let you in on far too much of my life over the years anyway. So, what's one more? But my dad, Tom DiGenova, was just he was a hell of a guy. He was one of a kind. He was so confident. He just he was so confident in who he was. He just didn't give a shit about what anyone thought, and I always respected that and appreciated that about him. and he was just cool, but he was like cool in a way like he didn't try to be cool. Like he was who he was, and like take him or leave him, and that made him even cooler. Um, and a few months ago, he had some health problems, and it was kind of touch and go. Like it was a little scary, and he pulled through. And so it was kind of a relief of like, okay, like maybe he'll be all right. And then about a month ago, I came to Illinois to visit my family, and I got to see my dad. And so I had dinner. I had dinner with him and his wife, and it was like I was so grateful to be with him because, like, it was because of the what had happened like a month prior. It was scary, and it was like I was like, it was just one of those things where I'm like, I was just happy to be able to sit with him, and there's that little part of me that like wanted to be like, I love you and I appreciate you, and like tell him all these things like that I didn't think I'd get to tell him, and I didn't, just because it's kind of, I don't know, it felt weird, it felt awkward, but it was a very normal dinner, of just me and my dad and his wife, and it was just normal. And we talked about the family, and we talked about work, and we talked about what he's up to, and we talked about how he's feeling, and just it was very normal every day, but it was really special. And so as as we were like wrapping up dinner, as we were leaving, I gave him a hug, and I gave his wife a hug. And the thing about my dad is he was a weird contradiction, because like I don't want to say he was a tough guy, but he certainly was like not he wasn't super like outward with his emotion. He wasn't super affectionate, like it was a generational thing, right? Like this is how our dads are. So like,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't say I love you or anything, but like, and anytime I would see him, he would hold out his hand to shake my hand. And every time I would knock his hand away and give him a hug. For years now, for years. And he always seemed like a little uncomfortable that like I would always make him hug me. But I didn't care, because God, even for years, like it's like, of course, you hug your dad, and so I always made him hug me. And so I hugged his wife and I hugged him at the as we were leaving, and then we started chatting again. And I had to go get something from my car to give to his wife because it was Mother's Day weekend. And so we got flowers for his wife for Mother's Day. And then we chatted for an extra like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, God knows what. And finally it's like, okay, we got to go. We got to go. We got to go. And so my dad at this point had already gotten in the car, and he was like, all right, Andy, we'll see you next time. And I was like, you know what? You get a second hug. And so I went down into the car and I gave him another hug. And I didn't know that was the last one, but I'm so glad I gave him another hug.
He is too.
Yeah. We love you so much, babe.
I'm giving you one right now,
So
man.
proud of you.
And so we said goodbye, and I'm again just grateful for that dinner that we had, and to get that extra time. Again, I see these last couple months as a gift, because we might not we were very close to not having them anyway. And it's always sad to say goodbye, but he was my dad, So I guess for Father's Day, if everybody who's ever lost a parent is like, if you still have your parents, be grateful, spend time, take their phone calls, shoot them a text, all that stuff. And all that stuff is true. And, I tried to do it. I tried to do it as much as I could, and none of us are perfect. And of course, no matter how much you try, you wish you'd have done it more. But if this Father's Day, if you get to spend this Father's Day with your father, just do me a favor and give him a second hug.
So, Andy, I didn't know your dad particularly well. I only met him the one time, but I will always be grateful to him for one thing. And, this probably sounds cheesy or corny or whatever, but he was obviously an integral part in bringing you into my life. And for that, I'm very grateful because you were one of my dearest friends on this planet, and I love you very much.
Could not have said that better myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
I mean, you have all the best parts of your father, and you brought that into the fatherhood that you have and what you give to Harley. And it's so, I'm in awe of you every day because of what you've learned from him. And there's no better tribute than the person that you are.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. I really thought I was going to be fine because I hadn't cried in a while. I hadn't
That's
cried in,
probably why.
yeah, but thank you guys. And I do appreciate that. And, I certainly learned a lot from him, the good and the bad, if we're being, I mean, not bad. He was never a bad father, but like Harley never has to worry about me not going in for a hug. In fact, she's probably annoyed at how much I hug and kiss her.
I feel the same about Henry. Hey? I dread the day he's going to be old enough to go, Dad, will you just piss off and leave me alone?
I mean, she already kind of gets that way. I'm just like, I just love you so much. And she's just like, I want to go play with that thing. Or
Actually, he's just started saying sometimes now, I want Daddy to go away.
Oh, no.
Listen, as the father of 3 teenagers who are like, ugh, and they roll their eyes every time I do it, I don't even care. I don't let them get away from me. I grab them, I hold them, I squeeze them, I call them George, all that stuff.
Yeah, as well you should. So
I mean, she loves you tons. She's been running around the house since you left last night, just asking where you are. She tried to sit in your office, record a podcast.
oh, that's well, she, it won't be long before she is. So
Because that's where all the cool toys are at. That's why she's in there.
I know. She's obsessed.
that's true. All right. Well, thank you guys for humoring me. And yeah, I mean, he couldn't have waited an extra couple of weeks and we could have spent Father's Day together. But, again, I'm grateful for the time we had. And I just wanted to take a minute to remember him and to share, that last story. And, I loved him and I miss him already. And I always will. But, this one's for him. And this movie is actually not inappropriate for Father's Day. So that also kind of works too. So happy Father's Day to to all the dads out there except Brendan.
Except
Brendan.
That's fine.
But a very extra special Father's Day to my dad, Tom DiGenova. So he was very loved, and we already miss him. So, all right, I'm going to pull myself together, and we're going to get to the subject at hand. We're going to move forward. We're going to talk about a DC movie. So here we go, episode 400.
Which is a happy matter.
Yeah, right.
Nothing bad to talk about here.
Something nice and light and easy.
That everybody loves.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Let's talk about The Flash, guys. Right, after much ballyhoo and after many years of
false starts.
Yeah, right, false starts, how many directors, how many writers, just ongoing, and after many countless episodes of Jamie Drewley pretending the movie wasn't real, after all of that, The Flash is finally in theaters. We have seen it. And we're going to talk about it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen the movie. I'm still not convinced.
Okay. All right.
I mean, the only thought I had walking out was I really wonder if Jamie believes this movie happened yet.
No, because I hadn't seen it yet.
The internet's trying to kill each
Friday
other.
at like 9:30 p.m. Eastern time is when I was like, all right, you guys win.
So there's definitely a DC movie out because the internet's trying to kill each other. So.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not on Twitter. I don't see all that.
You are so lucky.
You.
Girl, your life is happier for that. Peek behind the curtain. We were talking a little bit while you were putting Harley down, and I was like, yeah, as soon as the CinemaCon screening happened, I shut down my social media stuff. Like I'd peek in on Facebook here and there, but Like I all but deactivated my Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter and I don't even know how long. You know, what's that been? 7-8 weeks ago, the
Oh my
CinemaCon
God,
screening
yeah.
happened.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Ever.
your life has probably been better.
And somehow, some way, I managed to avoid every single spoiler for this movie.
That's good.
And it was great because I can't tell you the last time that happened. Maybe
I'm
before the
impressed.
internet existed might have been the last. Batman 89 might have been the last time I got away with that, okay?
I think, I mean, obviously we saw the fan screening, but I told Andy, I think right before we were about to watch it in the theater the other night, like, because I'm not on Twitter, I wasn't re-spoiled for any of the things we had already seen, and I wasn't spoiled before that screening. So I guess the moral of the story is stay off Twitter.
Well, we were
That should be just a life rule at this point. And honestly, I would have. The only reason I'm still on there, A, habit, but B, for the podcast. Like that's
show.
yeah, like it's because of the damn show. If it wasn't, if I didn't do this podcast, no, I would have deleted it quite a while ago.
Like again with the conversation, but while you're putting Harley to bed, Kathryn, like I'm still on Twitter and didn't go black or unfollow anything, but I was lucky too. Like I heard some rumors about stuff, but there were so many rumors flying around anyway. I didn't really believe. Well, not that I didn't believe them, but I didn't know what to believe and what not to believe. So when something actually happened, I was like, "Oh shit, that's awesome! That's cool!" Like I know that the director spoiled one of them before I even got to see the movie, and I never saw the interview or his direct quote. I just saw people going, "Oh, apparently, person X is in this movie," and I was just like, oh, "Okay, well, if that happens to be true, cool." But people are saying that all these other people are in it as well, so I don't know what to believe. So, I kind of felt that I was unspoiled for the whole thing as well. Like it was, yeah, it was just one of them was just confirming a rumor that I'd heard. It wasn't a full on. I was told this is happening.
I think we were pretty unspoiled going into the fan screening.
Yeah.
But once those fan screenings happened, everything got out. Everything. There wasn't a single surprise left on Thursday.
Oh wow.
That had not been spoiled in one place or another. And I have very mixed feelings. I don't know if we'll get to it now, but I have very mixed feelings on the fan screenings. I think that they overdid it, and I think that at the end of the day, it was probably a mistake. And that's a big reason why, is because they couldn't keep anything under wraps at that point. But I was glad that they did it because I was able to see it before all that stuff made its way out,
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's one of those things where, like, because the release dates changed so many times and there's been so many rumors, like Brendan said, you just didn't know what to believe. So people could have said literally anything and someone would have been like, I mean, maybe, sure.
Yeah.
So whether or not it was true, I guess you had to see it to find out.
Right. All right. Well, spoiler-free thoughts. Kathryn and I already gave our spoiler-free thoughts 2 episodes ago, I think it was. But we'll reiterate them briefly. But Brendan, spoiler-free thoughts on The Flash.
I had a fun time at the cinema.
Shocker. God forbid.
The first, because I saw it 2.5 weeks ago at the time of recording at my fan screening. I got to see it a week after you did.
Which made me need to be on suicide watch that he got to see a movie before I did. By the way.
It took me a day or two kind of to mull it over and start to accept the movie for what it is rather than what I would have loved to have seen. Just expectations in general to get over. And I will say there was a lot of hyperbole floating around of, greatest comic book movie ever, best DC movie ever. It's far from either of those things, in my opinion. But there was so much of it out there. It was hard to then step away from all of it after seeing it and going, okay, so I've seen it now. This is what it is, and then sort of make peace with that and find how I actually feel about it, rather than did it not meet my expectations and things that I would have liked to have seen that weren't in there. And seeing it again yesterday, 2 weeks removed from that first 2 and a bit weeks removed from that first screening, was exactly what I needed, because I could watch it knowing what it was, not being in my own head going, oh, I wonder if this is going to happen, or I wonder if this is going to be this person, and just enjoying the movie for what it is. And I'm not just saying that for the flat. I'm like that with every movie that I'm really excited for. It's that first viewing's usually okay, and then it's the subsequent viewings is where I really fall in love with it. And yeah, I'm pleased to say that's what happened yesterday. I really, really enjoyed the movie. I think it's a solid comic book movie. I think it's a solid DC movie, and I think I'll leave it at that. I liked it.
Well, I'm just going to jump in then real quick and say that I had a very similar experience. It sounds like I like the movie a little more than you, but if you go back and you listen to the spoiler-free reaction, like I really liked it. I thought it was really good, but there was like that little thing holding me back, and I think it was managing expectations, because it wasn't just years of delays and buildup. It was also the past year of expectations, and to your point, like the incredibly glowing reactions, and just us as fans being like, well, what if so and so is in it, and what if this happens, and what if he goes
Well, I mean,
here,
the
and then what
second
about
they
this?
announced
And
Keaton, it changed the game. And for people like
yeah.
us, like it put this movie on a whole other level.
Right, and we let our imaginations go wild about what could be in this movie or how it could go, and there's all that expectations, there's all of that baggage that you're coming in with going, "Oh my gosh, I hope that they do this, and I hope that I see this," and you can't help it because 'cause we're fans, and so that first time I was like, "Yeah, that was really good, I really liked it, but, oh, I wish they'd have gone heavier on this," or, "I'm sad they never did this," and whatever. It's about getting over the expectation, and then when we saw it again opening night, Thursday night, um, like you said, I enjoyed it even more. I really enjoyed it the first time, and then I loved it the second, because now you're over the expectations. Now I know that, you know, the whole third act wasn't under wraps and whatever. Like now I'm like, no, this is what the movie is, and then you can just enjoy it without some unrealistic expectations. And so yeah, I enjoyed it even more the second time.
Mhm.
I think it's a great comic book movie, but to your point, I think that the reactions of best comic book movie ever worked against it,
Yeah.
because I don't think it is. I don't think it's the best DCEU movie ever, but I still loved it. I just like it was, but that kind of hyperbole got my expectations so freaking high that when it was just a really damn good movie, that was almost disappointing to me. And
Yeah,
like,
I can see
and,
that.
like, and it's like, that's just unrealistic. And so again, that second viewing, it's like, no, now just reconcile what the movie really is, and it's a really freaking good movie. It's a really good comic book movie. I still love it. um it's just, yeah, they just said that, like, the amount of hyping they did over the past few months, I think almost worked against them. It set expectations that no movie could deliver,
I saw
you
someone
know.
post, it might have even been in Real Fans, saying that Warner Brothers did nothing to hype this movie. I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah. uh, Yeah, where you been living? No. So and that kind of goes hand in hand with the fan screenings, where it's like, you know what, one round of fan screenings to drum up some buzz, cool. But they were doing free fan screenings every other
For
day for
weeks.
the past
Yeah.
month, and like it was just too much.
And the
Because
fact that we were able to go in Orlando, I think, speaks volumes of how many places they were doing it.
yeah,
So,
and then
yeah.
we were at least the first round, but
Right.
then they did it again and again and again and again, and it was
Yeah.
like, again, like they were kind of giving it away for free, and they wanted to do it so that way people would tweet and post and go, oh my god, I saw the Flash and it's really damn good, and most people did say that, but there were also the vocal minority of going, I'm going to spoil the shit out of it because I don't care,
Mm.
or whatever, so I just think it was too much. Anyway, but point is, spoiler free reaction, I liked it even more the second time. There's a lot to love about it. It's not quite perfect, but I still think it's really damn good. My nitpicks are small and minor, because overall I had a great time with it. Kathryn, why don't you go next? Because we'll save Jamie
Oh
to
man,
last.
I can't wait to hear what Jamie thinks.
We all can't. So that's why I'm making him wait.
I mean, I like copy paste kind of what you said. Like, obviously, we shared our spoiler free reactions, and I was really positive on the movie. I think that, like, I don't know if I had said it, but I've definitely said it to you that I think it's one of the best superhero films I've ever seen, and it will probably, rank up top for a long time. And I stand by that. I still feel that way. I was saying that to a friend today that she's like, what did you think of it? And I was like, I thought it was amazing. And it was great. I talked to my sister who's not a superhero fan. She freaking loved it. So I'm like, okay, well, it's not just me. Like, people really enjoy this movie. I thought it was a really good movie. Like, honestly, it had all of the elements of what I think I would have wanted. And I would say I probably didn't go into it with the same amount of expectations that maybe you all had. But I still was excited to see everything we got to see, and it was better to see it again. And I want to watch it again as soon as we can.
Me, yeah, same. I'd love to go again in the theater. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath, but
well, since our
yeah.
freaking babysitter moved, I guess we're gonna have to figure that out.
I know these damn babysitters. All right, Jamie Drewley.
Somebody go again. I need to drink more.
I feel like we need to do the National Lampoon's Vacation, like drum roll.
Let's just say Jamie has been conspicuously quiet since seeing the movie. And I mean, and yes, he's certainly been logged off of like Twitter and everything, but even in our private chats, he hasn't really said much.
Okay, I want to preface this by saying I reserve the right to change every opinion I'm about to give because I've only seen it once and I really wanted to see it at least one more time before we did the show, and I just couldn't find the time to make it happen. So this is all contingent on possibly changing at a later date, maybe by episode 402 or something. I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of expectation for this movie, only because I shut down. I turned off the hype wagon. I stayed away from all of it. This movie's been rebooted and redone and reshuffled and rehired director 5 times in 7 years or whatever it's been. It was chaos, and I went cold on this movie like a year or two ago, whatever it was, and I never got the hype turned back up. I still haven't even seen the final trailer for this thing, so it's whatever. At any rate, I walked in obviously, expecting to like it, wanting to like it, and I did. I like it. I think it's good, but I don't think I'm ever going to reach the point where I think this movie's great. I have too many problems with this movie, I think, to ever get to the point where I think, no, I take it back. I've seen it a couple more times. I'm settled down now, and I really think it's great. So like BVS, that happened. Like the first time I saw BVS, I really didn't like it. But I had my expectations and my hype level to stratospheric levels that the movie was never going to meet, no matter how great it was. But after I accepted the movie for what it was and settled down and saw it, by the third time, I was really like, okay, I'm here for it. I know what we're doing. I'm in. I love this movie. I don't think I'm going to have that with this. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe I'll come around to that point. But right now, I just don't feel like that's going to happen. I feel like there were moments I truly loved in the film. There was a sequence or two I truly loved in the film, but I think as a whole, there were a lot of missed opportunities. But to give benefit of the doubt, giving what they had to do to work with all of the behind the scenes problems and issues and reshuffling that this movie had, honestly, I think this is probably about as good as I can expect it to be given those circumstances. So tough for me to say much more without, getting into details, but I think it's good. And I think I'm probably permanently stuck at the good level on this one. But I hope I can change and I'm wrong on that.
Well, good isn't bad.
No, it's not.
So
but most of the time when I come out of a DC movie, it's like, you know what? I really like that. That was great. This one, I've been mulling on it for, 2 days. And I just can't get myself to that point now.
I'd love to have this conversation again after you see it a second time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, luckily we have this forum where that can happen. So
yeah.
I get the feeling the email response to this episode is going to be another 2 episodes in itself. So
yeah, no kidding.
to be continued at a later date.
I just want to insert the gif of RuPaul going, I can't wait to see how this turns out.
I I have a question for you, Jamie. It's not, or it is. It's still spoiler free. But if you listen to Kathrynn and I's reaction, we talked a little bit about the humor in the movie. There's a
Hell
lot.
yes, there's too much humor in this thing.
Okay, all right.
Did you listen to that episode yet, Jamie?
I listened to it yesterday morning while I was doing laundry. Yes.
So yeah, I was like, I because there was so much, and for me, most of it worked. You know, I didn't really have a problem with it, but I think I was surprised by how much there was, because that was not in any of the trailers. But even then, even in the moment, I was like, I wonder if this is going to be too much for Jamie.
There were several, probably even 4 or 5 genuine laugh out loud moments for me. So I'm not going to say none of it worked, but I do think that at some point I was just like, that's enough. Let's move along.
Okay.
To address the humor, though, for me, I think the Flash is a character where you can have more comedy in a movie.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I really liked is they didn't, in my personal opinion, the character is still the same character from something, as dark, people call it dark and serious, as like Zack Snyder's Justice League, to this, the character's still the same. They haven't changed him, because even in that movie, he's funny. He's providing all the jokes in that movie. And I think that's a credit to the people who made this movie, is I don't think they ramped it up with our Barry, because it's the other universe's Barry, where you can have because he's elevated, he's heightened, which even grounds our Barry even more. So I liked it. I think it worked.
No, I think you're right. And I will also say this, like, even if I don't agree with Jamie, I completely understand where you're coming from, because there was a lot, there was a lot of humor. But I will at least give the movie credit in that, even though there was a lot of humor, it wasn't afraid to pull that back for the serious and emotional moments. They never undercut an emotional scene with an ill-timed joke. And I am glad that even though there was a lot of humor baked into the movie, that when it had to be emotional, it was emotional. When it had to be dramatic, it was dramatic. And I appreciate that it was balanced that way.
I feel like it wasn't even that I thought, too much joke or too many times they did it. I feel like, especially in one specific occasion, and I'm sure this will come as no surprise to anybody when we get over it. I just feel like a line would have been enough. And I feel like there was 4. And by the second line, I was just like, move along. That's enough. So there was a couple moments where that was my reaction. It's like, okay, that funny, whatever. And then it just kept going and going. And I was like, hopefully this isn't a recurring theme here. And as the movie went along, I think that settled down more, but there just were a couple moments that I was just like over it.
Okay.
But again, I think I'm not going to be one of these situations. Well, more of the humor worked for me that didn't. I think it's probably a right down the middle split for me. Because again, the stuff for me that worked, I thought was really funny. I literally laughed out loud in the theater, but there was just other times where I was like, all right.
Yeah.
But this is me we're talking about.
No, I mean, hey, honestly, I consider this a win.
So do I.
The fact that some of it worked for you, I'm like, hey, that's good. That's actually really good.
So all 5 of my family went, which is the first time did I say,
Great.
were we recording when I said this already?
No,
the first time
no.
since Force Awakens? Okay.
That's awesome.
So I think this is the first time all 5 of my family members went to a movie together since The Force Awakens. And that was December of 2015?
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah, so it's been a minute. Okay, so I've been to the movies with my wife. I've been to the movies with, 1 or more of my kids. But the 5 of us together, it's been a long time. So I sat in the end seat, then my oldest daughter, then my youngest daughter, then my son, then my wife was 5 seats away from me. And I heard my wife laugh out loud 4 times in this movie, which doesn't happen very often either. So.
She famously hates everything.
Exactly.
She hates all movies.
Guys, okay, here, I'll just give you the Drooly family breakdown when we were taking the car trip to the dog park yesterday.
Yes.
Okay? So my wife said, that was a good movie. I really liked that.
See, that's a win. Stop right there. We're done. We're done. Good night, everybody.
Happy 400th, everyone.
My son said, that was good. I really liked that. And my daughter's reactions, respectively, were, it was fine and meh. And unfortunately, I think I lean more in that territory than I do with my wife and son, who seem to like the movie more than me, which really makes me sad and saying it out loud right now. But,
so you share the opinion of teenage girls, is what you're saying?
Not for the first time, yeah.
All right. Well, let's get over the spoiler wall, because honestly, most of the people listening at this point have seen the movie, so let's just get to where we can speak freely. I think, Kathryn, Brendan, and I all really, really liked it or loved it.
Yep.
And Jamie thought it was good, but not a home run. Fair?
Yeah, I think I'm sitting at a double right now versus a home run. So
you know what? Still, double's pretty good.
I don't know what that means, but
sports ball.
Second base.
Well, it's a sports thing, yeah.
Well, it's a baseball. Sport. I like sport, but it's a baseball thing. So,
but let's speak freely, because I want to get into it, and there's a lot to get into. So we are going to speak freely. If you haven't seen The Flash, if you're a DC fan, go freaking see it. It's out there now, and we're going to talk all about it. So spoilers are fair game in 3, 2, and 1.
Let me tell you about the end of this
movie. One thing I will say, speaking of the end of the movie, just to get it out there from the very beginning, because now that the movie's out there and people have seen it, I've gotten a lot of messages from people being like, what was different between the fan screening and the final version?
Oh, yeah.
And I will just say this. I think that, like, before the fan screening, there was that little video introduction from Andy and Barbara Muschietti, which I thought was very sweet, but they were like, this is not the final version. You'll have to come see the final version in a few weeks or whatever. I feel like all of that was kind of much ado about nothing.
It was so misleading.
Yeah.
It was, I think that's my only disappointment, was like, I feel like
there wasn't more new stuff. Yeah,
I feel like I sat through that whole movie wondering what they were talking about, and then we get to the last literal 20 seconds of the film, and it's like, that's it? That was what you were hiding?
Yeah.
Like,
that's it. So,
to be honest, I think our ending was better. The fan screening ending I enjoyed more.
I did too. Okay.
So I can see it both ways, but I don't disagree. I think that where it cut in the fan screening, so we're in spoilers. So in the fan screening, it cut when Barry said, now who the F is this? And it cut to black.
Well, it even edits a bit more, because they tease who it is before it cuts back to Barry saying, who the F is that?
Yeah, you see the feet, and then he says, who the F is this? And it cuts. Yes, and that was it. And that was the end of the movie when we saw it. And then in the final version, we meet the new Bruce, not the new old Bruce, whatever. We meet Bruce. So yeah,
we meet a Bruce.
We meet a Bruce. Like you said, honey, like 20 seconds, and then it's credits.
Barely 20 seconds.
And then it's the post-credit scene, which we didn't get. And that's the only thing that's different, was the final few seconds of the movie and the post-credit scene. And neither, I thought, were worth all of the, we're not showing you everything. Like, it's like, really? That was all you were hiding? Okay.
Like, I was pretty sure that in the, like, montage of other worlds towards the end of the movie, that we were missing probably another 2 or 3 cameos or references.
Yep.
And there were not. Those were exactly the same as they were. It was literally just these last 20 seconds in the post-credit scene. And I agree, Brendan. Like, if it had just ended and we had never seen, we're on the spoiler list, we'd never seen Clooney, that would have been a great ending. I feel like that would have been fine.
Wait, your version was Clooney? The Bruce we got was Bruce the Shark from Jaws. What the hell?
Oh, that would have been dope. Oh, dang it.
I'm not going to lie. I had a big smile on my face, because I just thought that was a nice touch, letting him come out there for that little cameo. And my wife was like a huge ER fan. And like, I feel like she might have let out a little bit of a yelp when that happened. So,
And I think that's the case you make for it. Is like, it got a big pop in the theater. People loved it. People were into it. It is a funny little button at the end of the movie. So, like, I get why it's there, and I'm not against it. But I also think it was also a very fun way to cut to black of, like, who the F is this?
Yeah,
like that.
I like
Most of them were. Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
both work, and so I'm honestly not, I don't really care either way. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a fun little moment to go out on. But yes, I agree with both of you. Is I really was hoping that yes, the other world, the little cameo moments we get towards the end during the climax, while I liked what we got,
Right.
it felt incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really hoping there would be more to it, and there was not. And so, like, listen, like, I know the movie, it can't be a cameo parade. It needs to be a movie.
Right.
And I think that the movie is very smart about how it does that. Like, it tells this very specific story. It is absolutely Barry's story. And I think it's really good and shows some restraint in the multiversal aspects of it.
And that may be honestly my biggest credit that I will pay to this movie is for all of the worry and concern that I did see floating around for the months leading up to this, that it was going to be too much Batman, essentially a Justice League movie. Flash was going to take a backseat in a movie that carries his name. That's absolutely false.
Oh, no,
This
it's
is
a
Yes.
Flash
100% a Flash movie. He is the focal point of the film from start to finish. So, if you're still listening to this and haven't seen it, rest assured that that is not the case with this film. This is a Flash movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With a bunch of cameos, a bunch of references, but it is genuinely, truly, first and foremost, a Flash film.
Yeah. I mean, we're always going to want a little bit more as fans, right? But I just felt like that sequence was incomplete. But to your
Yeah, and that's
you know.
yes. Sorry.
No, but to your point too, Jamie, I think that like it was very balanced between Batman and the Flash and Supergirl and everything else they had to do and the cameos with Flash leading the way. And I think that all of that balance was in great harmony the whole film.
Well, see, since you brought that up, let me go ahead and just start in, okay?
Well, can I finish my point first?
Yes, sorry, honey.
We can start it.
So,
the point I was making is that like they absolutely showed restraint, and there certainly are the Easter eggs and the cameos and things throughout, but they were still focused on telling this story, and I think they tell that story very well.
Yeah.
But when that part happens in the climax and we get the other worlds, I do love what we see. But to your point, Kathrynn, what you said is it feels incomplete. Like it feels like, okay, this is your moment to go a little crazy. This is the big climax of the movie, and they don't go crazy. There's really just sorry to jump to the end, but Jamie loves it. You essentially get 3 versions of Superman and a blink and you miss it Adam West.
Which
and
I
like
missed
it's like
in the fan screening. I did not notice Adam West.
Well, it's so quick and he's like off in the corner. So like unless you're really looking, you do miss him. And it's like of all of the DC characters, of all the DC versions that have existed over the years, that's really all you're going to put in at this moment. This is where you needed to mix it up a bit, because it's also weird to me that like the 3 you want to shine a light on are just 3 different versions of Superman.
Right. And like I honestly, watching it the other night, I thought something was missing from the fan screening. Like it felt like even leaner watching it the second time. And
it's the same. It was.
I know.
Same.
Well, I know
but,
it was, but it like the feeling of that sequence. It felt incomplete the first time we watched it. It felt even more incomplete the second time. But to your point, it was like Superman, oh, Batman, real quick, and like the Flash
and
for
Superman.
like a hair, and then another Superman, and it was like, where is Wonder Woman?
Am I the only one who thought they could have thrown Grant Gustin a bone in that scene as well?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially because of the Crisis crossover that was,
Yeah, like they could have cut to him looking at his planet, like shaking his head, like essentially saying, "Dude, I've done this and it doesn't work." Like, just no.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a Flash movie. It's weird that we only see like a Flash for a second.
All right, well,
who's
I'm
not
going to ask
really
you a question.
Anyone, is it?
No.
So me and Joe Fornerado have been having a debate. He's convinced it's Teddy Sears from the Flash TV show. I do not think so, because I was looking that second time going, is it him? No, it just looks like nobody. So I appreciate the nod to Jay Garrick. I think that's fun. But the fact that it's nobody and not even a version that has existed elsewhere, it does feel a little random. So, but like you have so much DC you can pull from.
Right.
That's the moment when you're allowed to be a little self-indulgent and to go a little crazy. And this is a moment where I think the restraint worked against them a little bit.
Totally.
Because if you're going to have Jay, like, honestly, and this is another thing, if you're going to have Jay Garrick, you'd use John Wesley Shipp over Teddy Sears.
Use John Wesley Shipp.
Also, like, where was Brandon Routh if we're going to show 97 Supermans?
Yeah,
technically he's Chris Reeve, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, that, and again, and this goes back to, like, if you go back to the spoiler free, like, this I know is a nerdy nitpick. I know this is me being a greedy fan. I know it, and I acknowledge that. But I do think that, like, yes, you just needed just a little more in that moment, because it's kind of the moment a lot of people have been waiting for. Is like, oh, how are they going to pay homage to previous DC films and TV? And it's pretty quick, so anyway, that being said, I'm glad that you all agree it's not Teddy Sears. Sorry, Joe, you lose.
Do you think if Kilmer were in better health, it potentially would have been him at the end of the movie?
Maybe. I mean, well, since we're talking about it, I think the end of the movie, the Clooney, I think, was a last minute ad.
Yeah.
Because
does anyone think was surprised by it too? Because he's never been backwards and coming forwards about saying he doesn't like that movie, and
but he's
playing
also
the role, like.
But he has always had a very good sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
True.
He is because he doesn't need it. It didn't hurt his career. He's on top of the world, so he's always had a very good attitude about it, and so I can totally see him going, "Oh, that'd be funny. Sure, I'll do it."
Okay.
But we saw set photos of Michael Keaton and Supergirl in what looked like the closing scene at the courthouse. So I think originally the end of that movie was Barry learning that Bruce and Supergirl are now part of this universe. I think that was the way the movie ended. And
I could see that.
Well,
plans
it was the original
changed.
plan, wasn't it?
Yeah. Plans changed. How many times? But they freaking changed. And so they're like, well, crap, we can't use that ending because we're not going to continue with Keaton. We're not, we don't know what we'll do with Supergirl. And so let's do a different ending. And that Clooney ending feels like a reshoot.
Yeah.
Before Jamie jumps in, did you guys notice too, since we're talking about the end of the movie, I mean, I think the scene with Arthur at the end is kind of dumb, but the part that I did like, that I think will carry precedence moving forward, is Barry's dialogue saying that in every multiverse, in every universe, whatever, like, you look the same. Like, it's always you. It always looks like you. And in every other universe, Bruce is always different. Like, I thought that line was really interesting.
Yes, because you jumped to that. Sure, let's acknowledge it. I agree with you. The scene is like, really, this is what we were waiting for. I'm glad that Momoa was in it. That made me happy because I was expecting him, and I was bummed when he wasn't in the fan screening. But I agree with you. I think that from a story perspective, the purpose of that scene is what you just said, is to say every universe has a different Batman because we know we're going to get a new one. But you're the same. And, I don't know if that's just a way to go, please go see Aquaman 2, or if there are, actual plans to keep him on longer than that. But yes, basically, from a story perspective, that's why it's there. And that's why I've heard people say, so does that mean Clooney's going to be Batman? No. I think it's a final.
You that as we were walking out. I was like, wait a minute, because I didn't hear that line that way.
Yeah, and so, like, I think that the Clooney moment is like a fun final joke, but him saying every universe has a different Batman is a way of saying there's going to be another Batman,
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I didn't hear the line that way, but when you were saying it afterwards, I was like, oh, I guess I just misheard it. But I don't know how many people will glean that from that piece of throwaway dialogue in a credit scene.
Yeah,
totally.
And that's
totally
yeah.
Because I've heard other people, not just you, Kathrynn, of being like, so does Clooney continue? And I was like, no. So for that final joke, they just confused people.
Yeah. And that's an important line that he delivers to Arthur. And it's, I mean, my theater had like 4 people left in to see it. And it's and I mean, Arthur bringing the drunken stuff, it's so over the top. It's kind of undercutting the importance of that line, because it's giving validity to everything, to Pattinson's Batman, to every other Batman movie we've ever had, to the Brave and the Bold to come. It's making it all valid and canon, and it's kind of lost under this, kind of Arthur just hamming it up.
Silliness.
Well, because everyone's going to remember that as the drunk Aquaman scene and not as the Barry explaining all the Batman scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
Which is a shame.
It's a huge shame, but, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we live in a world where we didn't see the Clooney and it ends like the fan screening.
All right. Well, we covered that. Jamie, I cut you off like 10 minutes ago. I apologize.
That's all right. I'm just over here drinking. It's cool.
I'm taking the chain off the junkyard dog.
Okay. So the first thing I want to address is
dramatic pause.
Since we're kind of in this whole multiverse sequence toward the end there, my favorite scene in the movie is actually in that sequence.
Oh.
Which I let out an audible gasp and then spent most of the credits looking under the seats for my jaw that dropped off. And that's because as a child, I desperately wanted to see Chris Reeve and Helen Slater in a movie together. And I never got it. And seeing those two together on screen for all of 4 seconds or whatever it was, that did my heart so much good and absolutely made my entire evening watching that movie.
They look
because
great.
I love that scene so much. So simple, so quick, so there's nothing that really happens other than the two of them standing there watching these things unfold in front of them. There's no action to it or anything else, but that warmed my heart so much. I mean, I love Chris Reeve. As much as I love Man of Steel and Henry Cavill as Superman, I love Chris Reeve. That's what I grew up. That was my Superman growing up. I mean, and I love the Supergirl movie. And I know it's not a good movie, and I know it's not aging well at all, but
I like it
really
too.
Like that movie when I was a kid, and I still like it now.
Yeah, from the director of Santa Claus the movie.
Seeing those two on screen together was just amazing for me, and I loved it. And
I agree with you. I agree real quick. I agree with you. I loved it too. Did you see that Helen Slater was at the premiere? That made me happy too.
I did not.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I just love that Santa Claus the movie got a nod in episode 400.
I was giggling to myself that Superman was fighting a giant spider because,
Hell yeah.
those of us who are in the know.
Mate, that's a Thanagarian snare beast.
It's a Thanagarian snare beast.
It's not a spider.
Whatever. So I was sitting there and I was like, oh God, John Peters' name has to be in the producer credits of this movie for that to have happened or something. And then they turned and showed Superman's face and I audibly said out loud, holy shit. Because I could not believe they did.
My fan screening, the crowd went nuts.
Yeah, I
feel like nobody in the theater I was in had any idea what happened in that moment, but I was in hog heaven with it. I thought it was great.
I'm with you. I think it. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was saying my sister, who has zero context or interest in any of this, texted me today, all caps, I want to see a Nick Cage Superman right now. She has no idea what the context is.
Well, that for me, that's the highlight.
Yeah.
Like I love it. And it's also the longest sequence, strangely enough.
Yeah.
And it's so good. But to your point, I think that unless you're a big time nerd, like you're probably just confused because after the fan screening, Kathrynn even went, "Did Nicolas Cage play Superman?" And I was like, "Oh, how much time you got?" Because it's a whole thing.
I mean, I didn't think so, but I didn't know about all of that.
I had to explain it to my kids yesterday when we were having the conversation. But it was so good. I enjoyed that so much, and I just thought to myself, "That's how you do an Easter egg, guys." Well,
hell yes.
Yeah.
I hope they make a McFarlane action figure of it.
Yes, I would love to see like a comic. Just
I'd take it any
animated version.
Yeah. Any which way. I'll take it any which way. But why do I have to do that? I need another drink. Hang on just a second.
Oh, Jamie, I live for
all due respect to Sasha Kaye. Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
That is her.
Am I saying that right? Okay.
Yep. I think
Supergirl was an absolute waste in this movie.
Mm.
Guys, I love you. It's been a great run, 400 episodes and all. I'm sure Andy's going to hang up on me on this, but I feel like Keaton was damn near a waste in this movie. I just did not. It was cool seeing Keaton and all, but I just feel like those two were so underutilized for what I guess this is the one expectation of the film I had, because some of the hype that I read about this film was Keaton is great, Sasha Calle is great. She's going to be everybody's favorite. She's the runaway great character in the film. So I go into this film expecting Supergirl to really be something special, and I really just feel like she was underdeveloped, underused. Keaton's great. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with anybody's performance in this film. Okay, everybody's performance was fine. This is more writing and character choices for me, and that I just feel like those two were underserved in this film. And I know it's a Flash movie, and I know he's the focal point, but you don't put those two characters in the film to just basically give them the Terminator 3 ending and say they're dead no matter what we do, we can't save them, and that's that. I was supremely disappointed in that, and I don't know that I'm ever going to get over that disappointment. And it's not that she looked great. Her action sequences were good. All that was fine. Keaton looked great. His action sequences were good. His explanation with the spaghetti about the timeline, I thought was borderline brilliant. Mm-hmm. But I just did not feel satisfied with either of those characters in this film. And Zod, I mean, Michael Shannon, he's one of my favorite actors. I love the guy. I feel very much the same about him in this. And I know these people aren't the focal point of the film, but they are important pieces in the film. And I feel like more could have been done with all three of those to elevate the quality and my enjoyment and appreciation of this film. And I feel shortchanged in all three of those characters. And I hate saying that, but I'm doing nothing but give my honest opinion. If these characters all worked better for everybody out there listening, or any of you three I'm talking with now, I'm glad it did. But for me, it wasn't there.
I can kind of come with you on Supergirl a bit.
Yes.
She was underused. And I didn't dislike her, but again, I think it sort of comes with a lot of the hyperbole either way that's going around with this movie, is that she was the best and I want to see more. And I'm just kind of like, she was fine. Like I'm not, chomping at the bit to see a solo Supergirl movie with her or whatever, but she was fine for what this character had to do in this movie, which, as Jamie said, wasn't a hell of a lot.
I agree with that. Well, I thought she was very good. But I definitely agree that she was the most underused, and I think that we even acknowledged that in the spoiler-free review of going like we really liked her, but we would have liked more, and I do think that that's true. Keaton, I thought, was used very well personally, and for Zod, there's a whole movie called Man of Steel that you could check out if you want more of him.
Yeah,
I recommend it. It's a good movie.
But you guys mentioned on your spoiler-free reactions that this movie does an excellent job of recapping, so you don't necessarily have to have seen Man of Steel or even have to see it recently. And I'm here to tell you, if you aren't like me and seen Man of Steel 70 or 80 times at this point, what does that character do for an audience? Not much.
I mean, I think I said it on the spoiler free. I have not seen Man of Steel 9 million times. I've seen it several times, but I think I had to ask Andy. I think I had to ask you, remind me again, like what Zod did in Man of Steel, like before we went into the movie or something after that. But I thought the recap was enough. To me, it's enough to say that there's a big bad threat to the entire universe, because the core of the conflict is Barry. It's not Zod. The focus of the conflict is not defeating Zod. It's fixing what Barry has done because of Flashpoint. So I wouldn't have wanted more Zod, because I think it would have taken away from that storyline, from that core of
that's not unfair. I see that. I recognize Barry needs to be the focus of a film called The Flash, and I think they did a great job in that respect. But maybe I'm like Andy right now, and I'm just being petty fandom, that I wanted more of a character that I genuinely love and think is one of the best on-screen villains ever.
Yeah.
I love that they brought him back, and I also think that it's a stroke of brilliance. I got to give a lot of credit to Christina Hodson, who wrote the movie. I think she did a wonderful job taking the Flashpoint story and using just the right amount of the Flashpoint story to tell this story, and like using enough of the same beats, but changing it where it makes sense. And what I love is, Jamie recently revisited the Flashpoint Paradox, the animated version, and, the big Earth threatening event in Flashpoint is the Atlantis Themyscira War. And we knew that that was not going to be the case in this film. And I thought it was a stroke of brilliance to go, we still need something that threatens the entire planet.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Zod. Let's go back to Man of Steel. And that replaces the war from Flashpoint. And that becomes now this threat that isn't just going to wipe out people, it wipes out the planet. And I just thought it was a brilliant way to tie it in with the beginning of the DCEU and at the same time have this threat that shows how the odds are stacked against them. And I thought that was so smart. And as long as I'm talking about it, another thing that I really loved about this movie, there's debate about, if whether or not it was respectful to Zack Snyder, whether or not it was respectful to Henry Cavill. But I feel, I'm trying to not go down that road. But what I'm saying is this movie is incredibly respectful to the character of Superman.
Yeah.
Because from the moment Barry knows what's happening, he's like, the only way we can win is with Superman. And he's on a quest for Superman, and he engages Batman to help him find Superman. And at the end of the movie, we learn that 2 Flashes, 1 Batman, and 1 Supergirl still can't equal 1 Superman.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so smart of being like, hey, we have all of this, and they're going to try to save this world. And what we learn is the only person in the universe that could have ever stopped Zod was Superman. And even though we're all here and we're doing our damnedest and we're trying again and again and again, we still can't do what Superman did.
Very true.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's so cool. And what you said, Jamie, about like, no matter what we do, they die. Yes, that's true in this universe. But just like Flashpoint, this is a world that is doomed. There's literally nothing they can do to save this world. And so I was certainly shocked that Supergirl and Batman, died multiple times in the final battle as they tried it again and again. But to really hammer home the point, much like in Flashpoint, of like, oh, there's no saving this universe. There's no solution to this problem. And that's what Barry had to learn.
Mm.
Yep.
Agreed.
I get that, but that doesn't change my thoughts about how underserved I think those characters. And Keaton was the least of the underserved. I don't know if I feel disappointed that Batman couldn't be the one that would do it. You raise a valid point about the Superman is the only one that could actually do it. I hadn't considered that before, so I'll concede that. But at the same time, I just feel like, not to make a comparison that I don't want to make, but like, 3,641,238 variances, and only one of them is the way that we can win this. And I feel like there had to be one way where Batman could win, or one way where Supergirl could win. I guess I feel dissatisfied that wasn't the case. And I understand the point, but that doesn't change how I feel about it, if that makes any sense.
Mm. But then that kind of takes away from Flash if you do that.
Flash is the one cycling through everything to make sure that one thing is what happens.
But again, that's the point. He created a universe that cannot be saved.
Okay.
Right? That's literally what he has to learn. And that was what he had to learn in Flashpoint, is there was no way to stop the Themysciran and Atlantean war from destroying the planet. And so the only way to save the universe is to keep it from happening. And that's exactly what he had to do here.
You know why it happened? Let me tell you why it happened. Because the Batmobile was not involved.
Oh,
because that's my big nitpick. I'm looking at my background on my computer at the moment is literally a promotional poster designed for this movie that has Michael Keaton walking in front of the Batmobile. There are toys of this Batmobile. It's never used. That's my biggest nitpick for this movie. Makes me
I
so
feel like
mad.
they knew what they were doing though. Like it was in the trailers. Like they knew that they were getting people hyped for this thing, even though they didn't even use it.
Listen, I will, for the cameo parade at the end, I will take most of that blame on myself of being a greedy fan. For them to not use the best Batmobile ever created is on them.
Yeah,
They
it's
used
right
it as
there.
a place to nap.
Yeah, like you don't unveil it and tease it and
Right.
sell me a toy of it and not use it.
Right.
Clearly.
I'm sorry.
Clearly.
That's not okay. Sorry about it. That's literally my biggest complaint of the
Yeah,
movie.
that's mine
Is
too.
I'm like, you don't, if this is your last chance to use that Batmobile and you fail to use it, you didn't do your job. And don't tell me, well, it wouldn't have really made sense. You're writing the movie. You write a scene where it makes sense.
It does make sense because the one variance in the 3 million plus is they go back and say, well, what if we don't come from the sky, we come from the ground? And the Batmobile pulls up and Zod gets distracted, looks over, goes, damn, that is one hot ass set of wheels. In comes Supergirl, neck snap, boom, there's the winning scenario.
Oh my God, Jamie.
I tell you what, Andy, because when we recorded the OnStar episode, you'd already seen the Flash. And I'd made a comment about how there was a great, Batmobile chase in one of the ads. And, up to this point, like I haven't seen the Flash yet. You did a really good job at keeping your cards to your chest because you already knew that I was going to be disappointed.
It made me sad. And this is the other thing. And again, this is definitely greedy in me. First of all, the recreation of Wayne Manor was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so good. The fact that they went into the armory,
the dining room, the kitchen,
and the kitchen's such a little it's
The fact that they recreated multiple rooms and not just the Batcave, it's amazing. Loved it. But it makes me sad that like they literally jumped from Central City to Wayne Manor and we never see Gotham City. And like that would have been like if there had been some reason to get in the Batmobile and go through Gotham, you could have checked both those boxes at the same time.
Can we go back for 1 second? Did you notice, and maybe this was just me, the Cupids that Batman was painting are very angry. Like they're so weird looking. I know it's like a weird background thing, maybe because we watched it a second time. But the next time you watch it, look at the weird Cupids. They're making strange faces. Anyway.
Well, I appreciated Barry's. Oh, I didn't know you painted. They're good.
Right? Yeah, they're and that's like he makes that comment, and so I looked at it this time, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
Do you know where my heart was during that moment? Looking around at the paintings in the background while they were talking about them, trying to find one of Selena in the gown from the ball at Batman Returns. Like, I recognize you're not going to put Michelle Pfeiffer in the movie, but I couldn't get that much, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Can I mean, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go, Andy. You're right.
Just real quick. I mean, they didn't do a lot as far as like Easter eggs to the movies themselves. Not really. But I appreciated that they had the laughing
box. Yes.
The little laughing box from the end of 89. I thought that was a nice touch. One of our listeners wrote in a month ago or something being like, oh, I hope that they show Keaton's like trophy room. So then you get the nods to the other stuff. And that would have been cool. But that one I'm not even that mad about. That would have just, that just would have been cool. But I still appreciated that they did the little laughing box in the bag from the end of 89. I thought that was cool. Sorry, Brendan. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, while we're sort of on the subject of Keaton, I know he dies in this movie, but in a world now where there's multiple universes and we'll have multiple live-action Batman going around at the same time, and they've said they're going to do like one-shot movies that aren't in continuity, everything else. I really want to have a Keaton movie. Like,
I know.
The scene in Russia and everything. I mean, it's so good. I mean, it's the first time we've really seen that Batman kick ass. You know what I mean? Like, and because you can do it obviously with special effects and stuff, you can make the suit move in a way they couldn't do 30 odd years ago. And he looks so good. I know I'm greedy and I know it will probably never happen, but just give us one movie, one with him and Michelle Pfeiffer. Just please, for the love of God, do it.
I know. I would love it. I'm not holding my breath, but I would love it. But I will say, because you brought it up, here's hot take of the evening. Best Batman fight on film, Martha Rescue, BVS. Second best Batman fight on film, Batman in Siberia.
I'm not gonna fight you.
in that base.
Yeah.
Oh my, and you're right. Part of it is, finally seeing that version of Batman move like that. But
Mm-hmm.
even you take that out of it, that is an amazing Batman fight on film, and I loved it. And I had a big goofy grin the whole time.
Well, while we're discussing it, I mean, we may as well do it now. I think both Batman action sequences in this movie are awesome. Like
Yeah.
that, my fan screening, I don't think at that point there'd even been the rumor yet of Muschietti doing Brave and the Bold. But that within the first 5 minutes with that Batman Affleck action scene on the bike in the blue and the gray in daylight of,
Yeah.
it never happens. I leaned over to my friend who I went to the screening with and I was like, they need to give Andy Muschietti Brave and the Bold now. And that was 5 minutes into the movie. You hadn't even gotten to the Keaton stuff yet. I think this guy knows how to direct Batman. I'm thrilled that he's been announced that he's got Brave and the Bold in the last couple of days. But both those Batman scenes kick ass.
Brendan,
Yes?
is it blue?
I think
Is it blue and gray?
Yes, it is.
It's blue and gray.
I
am colorblind.
I'm still not convinced.
It's dark blue, but yes, it's definitely
In some
blue and gray.
scenes.
But I love
Girl,
it.
don't you ruin my dream.
I think I think it's blue and gray, but it is subtle. And I've seen that suit take some heat, and I will concede that there's way too much gack on it. Absolutely. Like, for anybody who's like, what is all this shit on it? I'm with you. It was too much. But if it had been like the more simplified version, like the BVS version, but with the color scheme, forget about it, because the colors worked. All the extra crap, it looked like webbing or whatever that was on him, like that I didn't need. But the colors, awesome. And I'm with you, Brendan. That is one of my favorite Batman chases on film.
It's so good.
That bat cycle is amazing. What it does is amazing, and it's an amazing chase.
And it's so comic booky.
It is. And that's what Michael Lyons said when we walked out of the fan screening, is he's like, that opening was like a comic book, and I loved it. And it was. And same. Like, you can tell how much Muschietti loves Batman. That Affleck's action scene, awesome. The Keaton action scene's awesome. He loves Batman, and he is not afraid to go big and comic book with it, and I loved it. And so, I'm with you. I thought that opening was terrific.
Have to do, if you're going to have two big screen versions of Batman running concurrently, they'll need to be drastically different. And we've been in agreement on this show for years. Like, we want to see that comic book Batman come to life. We've been getting Batman movies since 1989, and we've still never seen that. I think the closest we've talked about is Affleck, but I mean, he was very much on the darker scale as well. But just based on that action scene at the start, and again, the scene in Siberia, if that's the way this guy's going to direct Batman, and if that's the direction the Brave and the Bold's going to go in, even the fact that Damien is in this movie, sign me the F up. Like, I want this tomorrow. I cannot wait.
Well, and as long as we're on the subject, even though they should have used the Batmobile, and I'm still mad at you, the way they used the Batwing was amazing. The Batwing was amazing.
Cool.
The way that the cockpit moved independently of the rest of the vehicle.
It rotates,
Yes, the way it rotates so he could stay right side up even if the vehicle was spinning was so cool. Like, the dogfight with the Batwing was amazing. Like, all of that stuff. The Batcave was shot with such love. The fact that Batman has a bat-shaped electricity kite was freaking awesome. And it's all those little things that you go, oh my God, Muschietti is so happy to be doing Batman stuff. I am so thrilled he's doing Brave and the Bold. And for everybody who's like, nope, I don't like what he did with Batman, that's fair. You're welcome to your opinion. There's a whole nother version that doesn't want to do any of that stuff, and there's a sequel coming.
Go watch the garbage Batman.
Oh,
girl.
Does she have any idea what she just did to the mailbox right there?
I'm
Any
sorry.
idea at all?
Andy, I warned you. How many times?
I know, but she's so cute, right?
Oh, she's amazing, but damn.
They
Kirby on that episode.
Oh
please send all complaints to
my
Kathrynn
letterbox.
Beachnova. Yeah. But no, I mean, but that you understand the point. Is like,
Yeah.
listen, like I understand that tastes in Batman are different, and that's cool, and it's all good. We've got an ultra gritty, dark, realistic one already running. Muschietti seems very happy doing a little bit more fantastical, a little more comic book. Everybody should be happy.
Everyone
Nobody's
wins.
happy because it's
Yeah.
the internet. Nobody's happy. But everybody should be happy because yes, whatever your tastes are, we know we got it. And so I'm with you. I'm on Team Muschietti. I can't wait.
Same. I
So-
love the quick little like bat wing in the moon, like
Hell yeah.
homage. Like
Hell
it was
yeah.
so, even it was like simple, but it wasn't. I loved it.
I
So
love
beautiful.
the.
I've seen that scene take some flack, and I'm here to tell you, I'm in. I loved it.
Well, the people who say that can write me on my letterbox.
I love the gag too, acknowledging the inability to move your head in the old bat suits when
Yeah.
other Barry tries to turn his head to look at our Barry and it just like pulls the rubber. That cracked me up. I thought that was brilliant.
Which, like, what a great way to give that Barry his own
yes
costume, right? Of like, oh, I found this old bat suit and I made it our colors. Like, it was such a cute, like,
the rigger
very in that
with a little
character.
hacksaw trying to cut the
Yeah.
ears
Oh
off.
God.
That was
That was a well-timed joke.
I love the Flash bat suit. I
That's
think
great.
it's so fun. It was such a cool idea. I'm a fan.
Yeah, same.
So
I love it.
For all of the praise that we'll give to the bat action sequences, because I think we're all pretty much on the same page there.
Yeah.
I don't think I liked any bat action scene or sub scene better than when he was putting the bombs on the space giant. I was saying hell yeah and laughing, and I was just into that whole scene for all of the 15 or 20 seconds that it went on, because that felt like such a Batman moment to me. And this movie has plenty of those, don't get me wrong, but that one in particular brought joy to my heart.
That one is right out of the Justice League cartoon.
Yes.
Like in the best possible way. But yes, I agree with you. And I will say this, I loved Keaton in this. I thought he was terrific. To your point earlier, Jamie, I think that with any time travel movie, you need a moment where it's like, here are our rules, right? And to give those rules to Keaton, I think was really smart. And I think that it was explained just enough. And I really loved the rationale of how time travel worked here. So yes, that whole scene with the spaghetti in him, I thought was terrific. But there are some, like, of course it was great seeing him back, but they still gave him his own arc here where he was kind of no longer needed. He did his job too well, so he was no longer needed. He was in Wayne Manor. And this pulling him out of retirement, and after that big awesome scene in Russia with rescuing Supergirl, and he's back at Wayne Manor and he's patching himself up and he looks at himself in the mirror and he smiles being like, oh my God, I'm back.
Yeah.
Is so cool. And then the final scene with Barry of Barry going, I can bring you back. And he says, or no, I can't bring you back. Or I think he says,
you already did.
And he said, you already did. And I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's such a great final moment. And it's funny because we talked about it before. And Brendan, you were the one who said, you're like, I just hope they don't bring Keaton back just to kill him. And
I can't even remember saying that.
Yeah. And I remembered it because when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, they kind of did. But again, because the whole universe was doomed, it's a different thing.
Yes. Yes.
I think
I can
had
live
a
with
lot
that.
of. Sorry, Brendan, go ahead.
Oh no, I can live with that. I was going to quickly mention in Siberia too, the whole strapping the bomb under the lift, the elevator shaft, and then getting the tape measure out and asking how much everyone weighed. I thought that was amazing too.
That was great. No, I think Keaton had a lot of really great quiet moments in his performance overall.
He's always been that.
He's always
been
quiet.
He's
Batman,
incredibly talented, right? But like the moment with Alfred that Barry brings up, you had an Alfred, and just the performance that he's giving in that, like you can feel all parts of the history of this Batman in that performance, and that is not an easy thing to come back to after so many years of not having played this character.
Yeah, and that Alfred moment I thought was awesome. I loved it. It was a great way to pay homage to Michael Goff, even without Michael Goff. I thought that was so cool.
So, Eric Stoltz.
Is this what didn't work for you?
Marty McFly?
No. That to me I found funny. What didn't work for me is that sequence in the apartment with the roommates. made me want to leave the theater and kick someone's puppy.
I guess I can give that to you, Jamie. I get like it is that scene
It
is
was
funny,
too
but
damn
it does last
much.
a little bit. Yeah,
It was too damn much.
I liked it because that's when
me.
Barry realized how badly he'd screwed things up.
yeah, right. It worked for me better the second time around, and I think it's just because like the pacing of it I already kind of understood, but
I mean, you need it because you need to know, like, you need to see Barry try to find the Justice League, like, so you.
Right.
But Jamie, I will also concede it, like, that yes, like is it probably my least favorite scene in the movie? It's possible, yeah. Like in future viewings, if I were going to go to the theater, like that's probably the bathroom break moment.
Yeah.
Marty McFly.
And at the beginning, I love the whole opening sequence. I've seen the baby shower thing take a lot of flack. I thought that was great. I thought it was really well done. And I know some of y'all want to complain about CGI, and I'm here to tell you, get over it. I don't want to hear a word about it. But I love the sequence. And, Diana's cameo saving Bruce at the bridge and keeping the chemicals from falling in the river. I thought that was a nice touch, too. Even if she wasn't terribly involved with the sequence, she was there when it mattered, just like she was.
It shows there's a Justice League.
Yeah.
They've got each other's back when they need them.
Well, yeah, and it was also a great final moment to that sequence of like we've seen a ton of Flash stuff, we've seen a lot of Batman stuff, and then to have her pop in for that final moment was a great way to do it. Like it was a good moment to bring her in. I like it.
Agreed. However, the part where he says, "My ego will never allow me to show gratitude to anyone for anything," I chuckled at that. That was funny. And then it went on, and then it went on, and then it went on some more. At that moment, I sat there and to myself in the theater and said, "Is this the movie that I'm about to watch?" Mm-hmm. And fortunately, they reeled it back, but then it came back a little bit more, and then it went back. So it never got carried away, but there were moments that gave me great concern. And I just said to myself, we need to move on from this because it's over. Stop. I just thought that was too much, in my opinion.
No, I think that's fair. I get that. I will tell you the one bit of humor that I'm like, why is this here? Because again, most of it worked for me. Even that scene, I will concede it probably went on a little too long, but it still made me laugh. I liked it. The one moment where I was like, what? Why are we doing this? Is when his tooth pops out.
Yeah, that was.
It's just so random, and then like at least in the non-fan screening version they pay it off at the very end, but like why? You didn't need it at all. It's just a bizarre little detail that like you don't need.
I honestly thought they were setting up that was going to be a way to tell the two Barrys apart, is that one was missing a tooth, but that he glues it straight back in.
Yeah, it's just a weird like little thing that I was like, yeah, I don't think you need that.
The part where Second Barry figures out how to phase and he's like not wearing any clothes and he goes through the floor of the apartment and you hear the woman scream. Kimbra laughed so hard at that in the theater. It made me laugh that she was laughing at it. So
I love original Barry when he tries to run when he first loses his powers and he takes the stance and the music like builds to it and then he's just like skipping around the room. I thought that was funny.
My God, that was great.
Yeah. I will say. Go ahead. Sorry,
no, it was not Roadrunner. What was he doing?
Oh, Yosemite Sam.
Yeah. It's the Looney Tunes.
No, not Yosemite Sam. What's the
Speedy Gonzales.
Speedy Gonzales. Thank you.
Yeah. So Speedy Gonzales. Yeah, I've done that, and he just like goes and does it. It's just like I think I'm just we can get into this more, but I feel like Ezra Miller had a lot of fun in both of those characters and made them both very different and fully realized.
I completely agree. I think Ezra did amazingly in the movie, and huge credit because, yeah, like Ezra played two Barrys and made them so distinct and so like recognizable that like it was never confusing. And at least for me, like I just bought them as two people, even though, I know intellectually it's the same person, but it was done so well that, yeah, you just buy it as two different people, and much of that credit goes to Ezra.
And for all of the great performances that this movie had, they were all in a backseat to him. Mm-hmm. Because he knocked it out of the park. And maybe there's some quirks to the character or things like that you don't care for. And I get that, but you can't say that his performance was not top notch every time he was on the screen in this film. And he came to work, he showed up, and I feel like he delivered beautifully. I think he did sorry, I'm still not used to that. I think they did a magnificent job with it.
Yeah.
I think Ezra was truly the standout in this movie, as it should have been. But when you're on screen with Keaton and Michael Shannon and so many, Ron Livingston in his own right is a great actor, even though he wasn't in the movie a lot. I think he did a great job. I just think there were many great performances. I don't think anybody gave a bad performance in this film, but Ezra was truly the standout in this film, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
They were the star of the film in every possible way, and they delivered. Like, they were so good in every scene, and again, like, being funny, being charming, being obnoxious, being emotional. And I want to talk about the emotional beats, because that's the thing, is like, for this movie, it's so big, there's so much going on, there's so much that it has to achieve. And for all of that, and it delivers on all that. It delivers on the action. It delivers on the effects. It delivers on the humor. It delivers on DC Universe cameos, etc. It delivers on all those things. But at its heart, it had this very personal, emotional story to tell. And I think it does that so well. And again, credit to Christina Hodson for the way she wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Credit to Andy Muschietti for the way he directed it. And credit to the cast for the way they performed it. But those emotional beats are really what hold it together. And I thought that they worked so well, and Ezra did it so well. That final scene between Barry and his mother in that grocery store was a crusher.
Mm-hmm.
And for all of the fun things that are in this movie, and the effects and the action and Easter eggs and blah, 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 my favorite scene is of Barry and his mother in a grocery store. And it's so good. And it goes up there with those comic book movies that make me cry. And it made me cry the first time, and then it really made me cry the second time for obvious reasons. And that scene is pitch perfect. And so I just huge kudos to be able to really hit us emotionally when it matters.
We've talked for many years now about the Hall of Fame DCEU mothers, and Mrs. Allen did not disappoint.
For sure.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
She was she was like so charming, but still real. Like, I love that they didn't overplay her as like some like picture perfect. Like, she just felt like a real mom who loved her family, and like the little banter between her and her husband that was like loving but teasing but a little annoyed, and like it was so cute. And like, they did such a great economical job telling this story, and like him being on the phone with his dad and like going back to the house, and then us flashing back to the day that she died. Like, all of that storytelling I thought was so effective and so well done, that like they had a lot of information to give us, and I think they gave us in a very smart way. And that's a perfect example. And then like really to show what this family was before this horrible event, and really makes you understand why Barry would risk going back to change it. And I also love that they, in Flashpoint, he goes back and literally saves his mom. And I love that this version of that story is saying, you can't do that. You cannot go back and just save your mom. You can't interact. You can't, because everything could get ruined. And he thinks he finds the solution of, if she doesn't forget the tomatoes, that's all it. And it's zero interaction. And and because as an audience, at least for me, you hear that and you go, yeah, that's actually a really good solution, because if he doesn't have to go to the store, she never dies. And you understand why Barry would then do it. So I just thought that was a really smart twist on the story we already knew.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting and worth mentioning too that for, a lot of people say that the comic book movies follow the same, they have the same, essentially they're all the same story and that kind of thing. This movie doesn't really have an antagonist. Like, it doesn't really, like, I mean, yeah, there's Dark Flash and stuff, but it doesn't play out like other comic book movies. I both times I've sat there and gone, there's not really a big bad in this movie.
Yeah.
He needs to, he himself needs to accept that he can't change. Like, that's the point of the story. There's not there's not like, your Darth Vader. I mean, yeah, like Zod's in this movie, but he's not the big bad. And Dark Flash
Yeah.
is in the movie, and again, I don't see him as a big bad.
He's really not.
He's
No,
someone
he's really
who's
not, because
trying
he's
to do
still
the right
trying.
thing.
Yeah.
He's trying to save people.
And
Yeah, so I
again,
just found that
and
an
again,
interesting take. It didn't follow the same formula of virtually every other comic book movie, and it could have. Like, you could have had
yeah.
Reverse Flash in there, and they decided not to go that route.
Yeah.
And again, credit to Christina Hodson for there are little moments where, as a viewer, you question things. You go, wait, well, why this, or what about this? And she wrote in logic for all of it. And I love the logic of why Reverse Flash, or not Reverse Flash, whoops, why Dark Flash pushed Barry out of the Speed Force when he did. Of like, oh, I had to get you out of the Speed Force so you could go give me my powers, because otherwise this time loop is broken. And I was like, oh God, yeah, that's really smart. So like, when when Dark Flash attacks him, there was a very specific reason for it. And I was like, oh, that's smart. And then along those same lines, before the movie came out, we had a question of like, the reason Zod came to Earth is because Clark woke up the ship, and that's how Zod was able to find him. But if there's no Clark, why does Zod come to Earth? And I appreciate that they wrote that in of Kara being like, he tracked my pod. And it's like, it's a very simple thing. It's one line of dialogue, but it shows that they thought it out. And I was very impressed with just those little bits of logic of like, no, we thought about it. There's a reason.
Yeah.
Side
Sorry,
note
honey.
here, I'm going to bring up what I thought maybe was my favorite moment of humor in the film, when he's on the phone with Arthur's dad and says, isn't your wife like the queen of the sea? And he looks over at the woman on the couch. Oh, that was so funny.
That was great.
I think he could do better.
That moment worked for me.
Sorry, Kathryn, were you going to say something? I think I accidentally spoke over you.
No. I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah. For now.
But yeah, okay. Well, we'll see. So I will say, when we, the first time we saw it, that very beginning, when Barry is in the coffee shop and he gets the call from Alfred, that got spoiled in like a TV spot or something later, but prior to the fan screening, that had not been spoiled. And it was one of those things where I was like, I didn't expect to see Alfred, but of course Alfred should be in this. And so like, that was the first moment. That was probably 2 seconds into the movie where I started clapping. I was like, hey, Alfred. It was just nice to see Jeremy Irons back. I also loved, going to the very, very beginning of the movie, is I loved how the WB logos went through time.
Oh, the WB and the DC logos both. Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a great little touch, and I thought that was so cool. But yeah, like, getting Jeremy Irons back was really cool, and then of course that led to the big opening sequence.
And him giving the explanation of where the other league members are and why they're busy. I mean, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and again, like, yes, we get the little Superman nod on the TV, but we do see Cavill in the Speed Force, so like, it's they weren't hiding him. I appreciate that he was there. For the people who are like, oh, another headless cameo. It's like, no, you see Henry Cavill's face in this movie. It's fine. What I was going to say is that opening sequence, we've touched on it quite a few times, and I love it too. I think it's great. I think the Batman chase is amazing. I do like the baby shower sequence. I think it's really good. But this is one where I will concede about some of the CG complaints. Yeah. I think most of the CG complaints are much ado about nothing. Honestly, I think most of them are people finding reasons to complain. The babies never look like living babies during the sequence, and that did distract me. And I think that is one where I'm like, yeah, that the babies, they didn't get right. And I think it does pull that sequence down just a little bit. And so that's the one where I'll go, okay, like, for the complaints about the CG, I'm going to give you the babies. Absolutely. I think that's accurate.
It's clear and recognizable CGI. I understand the point you're making, but I was having so much fun with the sequence. I just didn't care.
No, and I agree with you, and I think that's fine, because I still enjoyed the sequence. Yeah. But the problem is like, it's hard for me to be worried about the babies when they look like cartoons.
Well, I think we left the movie theater and I was still racking my brain for what the heck Andy Muschietti was talking about with things missing, and I was like, is it that the CG isn't done? And you were like, well, I feel like it was a stylistic choice, because the style of the babies is very similar to the style of the Speed Force, and that's why I feel like it makes the babies feel like weird. That
Yeah,
scene.
but here's the thing. Is, and I did think that, but the nurse still looks human.
Right.
So for that sequence again, on that one I'm going to kind of blame the CGI, but the Speed Force is an obvious stylistic choice.
And I think that
Yeah.
that makes sense. But yeah, it because the babies look like the Speed Force, I think it makes the babies look worse. But
yeah, but like, because in the Speed Force, it's like, no, this is just how things look in the
Right.
Speed Force, and I've seen a little bit of complaints about the cameos at the end with Christopher Reeve and with Nicolas Cage of being like, oh, they look so CG, and I'm like, no, they look like everything else in the Speed Force.
Yeah.
So like, and they're still in the Speed Force when this is happening, so they all look the same. So to me, I'm like, no, that felt intentional, and I don't know why we're complaining about that. That feels very, that feels on purpose. The babies is the one where I'm like, I don't know if that was on purpose.
Yeah.
I just feel like they didn't quite nail it.
I loved the baby sequence, and I don't know if I told you this, but when we were watching it the first time, I was having a really hard time.
After the fan screening, I came home and said to Jess, I'm like, I'm not going to tell you anything about it.
I know.
But the opening scene is going to stress you the F out.
And
yesterday her jaw was just like on the floor, like, oh my God, save the babies.
And I think the only reason it didn't stress me out the second time was I knew the babies got saved. But the first time I was sitting there like, oh, I hate this. I really hate this. Like,
I loved how when he went, you think he's going to go for the babies and he goes for the vending machine.
Oh, yeah.
He needs
great.
the energy.
I was stressed out that he needed to eat. I was very stressed out about that.
I mean, it's a wonderful sequence. It's very funny. And yes, the whole, like, you think he's going to go for the babies and he goes for the snacks thing is great. Especially even the, like, him taking the burrito out of the microwave before he puts the other baby in it is, like, it's great. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's a mom thing, Brendan, if Jess and I are on the same page here.
Oh, it definitely is, because Kimbra, after the twins were born, like, I was watching the Hills Have Eyes remake, and they like are threatening a baby in that movie, and she had to get up and leave the room. She said, I can't watch this anymore. So yeah, that's absolutely it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I don't think it's just a mom thing, because things with babies like hit different now.
Oh, for sure.
Than they used to.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
But I totally...
I felt stressed the first time I saw it, but I knew it would be a whole different level for Jess.
Yeah. But again, I would have been more stressed if the babies looked like babies.
That's fair.
I didn't have any stress with it because I never believed for an instant they were going to let a baby die in this movie.
Of course.
You hope not.
It served its purpose. I think the sequence was well done. I enjoyed it, but I never felt like, the babies obviously were in quote peril, but I never believed for a second that one of them wasn't going to make it.
Oh, for sure.
This movie was not dark enough to have said Barry made one mistake and miscalculated and one baby didn't survive.
No.
That is not the movie I thought I was sitting in. So I was not
for sure.
Yeah,
I sat there telling myself it's going to be fine the whole time.
I loved Barry, being at Zod's invasion, and saving that person. Like, he was there with his powers, like trying to help people. It gives that a whole other layer as well, which I really enjoyed.
That was a really nice element, and I thought that was very cool too.
Now we know, watching Man of Steel, that Bruce and Barry are both there.
They're there. Yeah. I also loved when the two Barrys and Batman and Supergirl are off to try and stop Zod. I also like, again, it's one of those little script moments that is very smart, where Barry goes, now originally Superman turned himself in immediately. So we're in uncharted territory. We don't know how this goes because we're now at a divergent point. And I was like, oh yeah, like, of course, like, you've got to acknowledge that this is all new. Like, none of this goes down the way it went down in Man of Steel because Superman wasn't there to turn himself in. And I was like, oh yeah, that's smart.
But that's where I think it's smart too that they use the Zod invasion as the roadmap of, like, okay, you already know all the things that were supposed to happen, and you can and you don't have to reinvent the wheel with a secondary big bad, right?
Yeah. And again, like, if you hadn't seen it, Barry explains to the other Barry exactly what happened. And I think that's part of the reason we get that flashback of him being there, is to tell the people who don't remember Man of Steel or who haven't seen it, to give them an idea of how it went down. So it is a character. It's a character moment for Barry, but at the same time, it's also, this is what happened. So that way you at least know.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's super tight script by Hodson. And then along those same lines, we never got an origin movie for the Flash. We never got an origin story for the Flash. And so to have Barry have to go to the lab to give the other Barry his powers, it was a way of letting us know the origin without making an origin movie. And I thought that was super smart.
Yeah, for sure. I think we said that in the spoilers, like, we don't have an origin. This is as best as we're going to get. But I was thinking that as we were watching it the second time, of like, you get the joy and the place that Barry was at in his life too when he got his powers, because this Barry is younger. And you can see what having those powers has done to him over the last few years too. So it's kind of like goes a step further, I feel like, than what you do get from an origin.
Yeah, totally. And, the movie, I will say, seeing it even a second time, it flies by.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like it is so well paced, in my opinion, that like it starts, and before I knew it, we were at the Zod fight, and I was like, shit, it's already there already, because it is so engrossing, and I was so enjoying myself, and it never feels rushed, but it also never feels slow and boring. Like it is just so well paced. And going back to what we said a while ago about them not at all being afraid to make it a Barry-centric Flash story, the movie takes its time getting to Keaton.
Yeah.
I think it's about an hour when Keaton enters the movie, because there's so much else we need to do. And it's a credit to the movie that while all that is happening, while Barry, we learn about what happened to Barry's parents, he goes back in time, he learns he can go back in time. He runs into his older self. He has to give his younger self, he has to give his younger self powers, because all that has to happen. The movie does it so efficiently, and it's a credit to the movie that as that's all happening, I'm not thinking, well, when do I get to see Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
By the time they get to Wayne Manor, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So credit to the movie for like keeping me engaged and not me just going, all right, let's get to Batman.
That's because it's a Flash movie.
I have one question, and you guys have all seen the movie more than once now, and I've only seen it the once, so I'm a little fuzzy. So help me out if I'm wrong here. But Supergirl is like flying up above and looking at Zod start to take out the Kryptonians take out the military people, and she does nothing about it in that moment, and like goes back and gets the others, and then they come back and do something. Am I remembering that right? Is that how that happened?
It is, but I think that's her realizing that, because she makes the comments to or second Barry that, because she's only seen the bad side of humanity, and that she's a Kryptonian, so I think she goes there to Zod, and then sees, oh shit, actually, no,
they're even worse.
Yeah, they're worse than what the humans were. So she goes back to get the team together.
I guess I have a little bit of problem in there that she didn't take immediate action, but I don't know. I guess I need to watch it again for context.
No, I took it the same way as Brendan, because they were pretty clear that she's like, you guys are awful. Why would I help you? You guys just kept me in a pit for however many years. My people are over there. And then she realizes, what's going on. So I didn't even think twice about it. And I also loved her conversation with the two Barrys of why she's going to help, of like the Kryptonians are a great people. Zod is not us, and I don't want you to think he's us. And so I will help you stop him. And I love that scene. I thought it was great.
I do agree with what Jamie was saying in the beginning, though. Like, I feel like we needed more of her.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I think what we get is very good, but yes, I think there needed to be a little more.
One thing I wanted to raise, and I don't want it to, open a whole can of worms or whatever, but this movie makes Zack Snyder's Justice League canon.
Yeah.
There's lines of dialogue in there that,
without a doubt.
Yeah. That's the canon Justice League according to this movie.
Absolutely. I feel like this movie, even though certain people don't want to hear it, this movie goes out of its way to be respectful of what Zack Snyder did.
That's the thing I don't understand.
Plenty of people don't want to hear that, but I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Good. They should. It's great.
It does. It absolutely does, because you're right. Like,
those
they
lines
acknowledge
don't need to be there, and there's
No.
several of them.
Yes. No, they absolutely acknowledge Barry and Iris's moment in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And then I also appreciate it because this was another conversation I feel like was in the mailbox or something previously where it was like, well, but Barry's just learning he can go back in time. So how does that work? And it's like, no, they acknowledge the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League that he went back for a moment. But this is a whole nother ball game because he went back a day and he learns he can go back even farther. So I appreciate that they acknowledge that he kind of did it before, but only barely. And now he's realizing the breadth of what he can do.
I was waiting in the moment where the two Barrys show up at the Kryptonian battle, and he was saying, I don't know what to do. I was waiting for Barry A to tell Barry B, just save one. And they didn't do that. And I was like, interesting.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. That definitely crossed my mind. But to go back to the scene with Barry and Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne, what a great scene that is.
Yep.
Oh, I love it. I love the conversation. I love the dialogue. I love the interplay between the two characters. And let's be realistic, that's going to be the last time we see Ben as Batman or as Bruce.
Sad.
And it is sad, and I'm going to miss him, and I think he was a great Batman, but it's a great final scene for him to go out on. And I think that scene between the two of them is amazing.
Yep, agreed.
I did like the nod in the kitchen fight where Keaton throws the thing at Barry and Barry.
Yes.
It's like the batarang scene from Justice League.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice touch.
That was great.
I agree. That was great.
I love how real Barry keeps getting the shit knocked out of him in that scene.
Oh my God. What a great, like, he still got it moment, too.
Yes.
You know?
The ascot was a little bit much, I think. But
well, he's a rich dick.
It's fashion, dude.
Okay. Ascot and flip flops. That's fashion, all right.
Damn right.
He's a
Who are you to
rich
judge?
recluse.
Yeah.
The guy
ascot
who wears
says
Batman
rich, the
t-shirts every day
flip-flops say
shouldn't talk
recluse.
about other people's fashion. You're right.
Yeah. Leave him
I
alone.
haven't really mentioned Iris yet. I mean, she's not in it all that much, but she's probably worth.
I mean, but no, I thank you because it certainly crossed my mind a while ago and we just didn't get there. But no, I love that she was back. I love the way that they integrated her into the story, and for being a story where Barry is going to spend most of the film in another universe, I thought they used her very well, and I thought she was great in it. Like, I really loved that they leaned into her being a reporter and her history with Barry, and I thought those scenes between the two of them was really awesome. So I really liked the way they used her.
We acknowledged it already, but geez, it made my heart leap when she mentioned their scene in Zack Snyder.
I've seen you before, yeah.
Anyone who listens to this show knows how much I love that scene, and it makes me cry. And yeah, when she mentioned that, I was like, oh yes, like that just did my heart so much good.
Yeah, she was great.
Yep, agreed.
No notes.
I thought she was awesome. Continue on. Keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Not sure what else we can talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Now I want to watch it again.
We jump all over the place. It's like, what have we talked about? What haven't we talked about?
I'm going to find another babysitter so we can go.
Well, next week will be where your parents are.
Oh, that's true.
Just a thought.
For our anniversary, we'll go.
Yep, there you go.
It might be late, but we'll go.
Well, I mean, not to, just throw it out there, Kathryn, but if I'm not mistaken, one of the people that has a brief moment in this film does live down the street from your family.
Who?
Oh, yeah. He moved, I think, though.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Tamira Morrison.
Oh, puppy.
He lived down the street from
my
Kathryn's brother.
Yeah, he was in a production house for a while. I think he was shooting. I don't know what he was shooting. Maybe Mandalorian or something like that. But yeah, he lived in Hermosa down the street from my brother, and he loved their dog. But he's gone now. My brother had this like grand plan to be best friends with him. Like the dog was the in, and then they moved him. He moved, so he's not there anymore. But dang.
Girl, use your detective skills and find out where he's at. We need to get him on the show.
Oh, puppy. Yes. That's what he would say when he would see my brother's dog. He'd go, oh, puppy. So.
Puppy.
That's all we make that joke a lot. Yeah.
What I guess, to move away from the movie itself, because, I think that we've hit on a lot, but as you said, Jamie, we're going to hit on it a lot more because, the emails are going to be crazy. But it is not doing well, which is,
Really?
no, it's not.
It's DC movie, Kathrynn. Welcome to Holy BatCast.
What? Are people going out to see Elemental?
No,
No,
that's
you're not
doing
seeing that either.
And so that's super disappointing.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I mean, like Brendan said, it's a DC movie. We're used to it. Like, what did I send to you today, Brendan? I was like, a new DC movie's out. I love it. The internet's fighting over it, and it's underperforming. This is my life. Or like I'm used to it.
It's
this is what we
only
do
Saturday.
Now. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's a bummer and it's a shame, and I don't think the movie deserves it. I think it's a great movie. I really do. And I think there are plenty of reasons, and I think that we'll dissect those as they go. I think that they maybe overhyped it, and I think that maybe worked it against them. But I also think, and I mean, I hate to go down this road, but I think it's worth acknowledging. But
yeah,
I think it is also a huge indicator of how damaged the DC brand has become.
Mm-hmm.
Or even theater trips in and of themselves, because I've been to some what would be normally and in normal times some pretty big blockbusters here in the last month. Flash or Fast X or whatever else I've seen recently. And I don't think any of them are like just smoking it up at the theater. Like Super Mario obviously did great. Maverick did great last year. But I feel like those are rarities now. I don't think anything is going to be a box office dynamo anymore. I mean, didn't they basically say Guardians 3 was not what they expected it was going to be too?
Well, Guardians 3's opening was a little soft. It has since made up for it in legs because the buzz has been very good.
Okay.
it could still happen.
You see what I'm saying, though? These are movies that would be global $500 million first week films in normal times, but we don't live in normal times anymore. I think this is the new normal. We have such small windows between home video, digital releases, Blu-rays, and everything else that I think a lot of people genuinely are thinking to themselves, I'm not going to the theater more than once. I'm going to wait the 30 days, give or take, before it comes out, before I even watch it. I just feel like a lot of people are just in that mode now.
I think that's true to an extent, but I guess what I would say is, Guardians opened a little soft based on other Marvel movies. And at this point, the Flash would kill for an opening weekend like Guardians. Spider-Verse exceeded its expectations by a lot. So that one is burning up the box office, as it turns out. So I think there are a lot of elements, but I do think that, again, what I was saying is I think that it shows that this DC universe, this version of this DC universe, it really has, because of the controversy, because of the movies that people haven't liked, because of the constant changes in leadership, because of drama with Ezra Miller, because of all these different things, this movie is underperforming, and I don't think it deserves it. But what I do think is I'm kind of at peace with it, because it just goes to show how badly we need the reboot.
Yeah.
And the silver lining for this movie, not like if this movie was this blowaway success, like we all expected it to be, and I will admit I am wrong. I mean, all things could happen. Maybe it'll have legs. I hope it does. It deserves it. But this was not this other blowout success that we thought it could be. But because of that, if that had been the case, I think there would have been a huge temptation of like, well, then we've got to keep Ezra Miller, and then we've got to keep Jason Momoa, and we've got to, like, it just goes to show we need a reboot. We need the reboot.
And I'm not even going to say you're wrong about any of this. But my point is, we come from times where you could have potentially, say, 8 to 10 massive blockbusters in a year. I think going forward, as far as I can see, we might see 3, maybe 4 like that. I think we're just not at that level anymore where people are going to flock to the theater for everything, let alone multiple times. Because I think everybody knows now, after all of the home entertainment we had to absorb over the course of the last 2.5 or 3 years, people, I mean, me, I'm the case in point. I'm going to the theater way more right now than I have in probably the last 5 years. But I was in that mode of, I can wait a month for something to pop up on digital, or I can wait for Disney Plus or HBO Max or something like that. I just think a lot of people are programmed like that now. And that's maybe what we're just going to be looking at going forward. And I'll be interested to see how that affects these big budgeted films. You know, I think we might see less of these $200 million films going forward because of it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I mean, I hope not. I think a lot of us hope not. I don't want to speak for all of us, but we enjoy that experience. But I'd be interested to see like a full comparison of pre-pandemic, post-pandemic box office numbers and what the new normal is.
Well,
I don't think
we
it's
certainly
defined.
are. Yeah, I mean, we certainly are not back to what it was pre-pandemic,
Right.
but there certainly have shown that no, a movie can still flourish and be a massive hit in this new landscape. You know, maybe not as many, to your point, Jamie, but what I'm saying is if a movie this big and with this kind of hype and this kind of buzz, can't do it, it's not just because people aren't going to the movies. It's because people don't want to see this movie.
No, and that's fair. And I acknowledge that. I recognize that. I just think we can't completely discount it.
No. And my point is we need a reboot.
No, I think you're right. I agree. I think we do need
because at this point the goods are too damaged. It's over.
Yeah.
And for a bunch of reasons, and we just need it. And we had this conversation when James Gunn took over of like, well, they should keep Godot and they should keep Momoa and like at this point I'm in the fresh start camp, because as much as the irony is I've liked or loved most of these movies. I don't think there's a single one I dislike. And yet I am realistic enough to go, sorry, the public is, their patience has been tested and they've checked out. And the only way to get them to check back in is to start fresh.
Do you think?
And I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was to say, do you think that how Aquaman 2 does is going to flip or change that mentality for them at all?
It could if it's, if it does what the first one does, then yeah, the conversation changes again. But I just don't know.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but that movie's trash.
People are screaming for it just to be dumped on HBO Max now.
I haven't heard anything about this. Is this more Twitter shit?
It is. It is. That's just it. Superhero Twitter is a cesspool of angry people. Look, and I just ain't got time. I'm sorry.
Here in the normal world, nobody cares.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
what I've decided to do, Andy? I'm going to unfollow everyone superhero related on Twitter. Just follow porn sites, and that way I can jump on Twitter and watch people get fucked instead of feel like I've been fucked.
I like this plan for you. Wow. I approve of this plan for you. It's a great journey.
You know what? I think you cracked the code, my friend.
Because that's how I felt on Twitter this morning. Just bent over and just railed.
It's and I'm sorry, like with everything going on, I just don't have the wherewithal to fight about superhero movies right now. I just don't.
Like, is Twitter?
I don't have it in
Is Twitter still the right sample of the general zeitgeist anymore?
No,
though,
hell no.
No.
That's a different conversation. But I just
but again, that's kind of the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Is that if this movie's underperforming, it's not because of the geeks. It's because the general audience has checked out.
Yeah.
That's my point. Right?
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a huge indicator. And I do think that the reason, not the entire reason, part of the reasons that Joker and the Batman have been the two biggest DC successes in the past 5 years is because they were not part of the damaged goods of this connected universe.
Yeah.
Is because they You could go in and it has nothing to do with any of these movies that you liked or loved or hated or whatever, because there are people who love some of these movies, there are people who hate some of these movies, but those two movies, because they were their own thing, they all of a sudden became accessible again to a larger audience. And I'm not saying that's the only reason they were successful, but I'm saying people want to see Batman movies. People want to see Joker movies. People want to see these characters. But those, because they came, they did not come attached with the strings of the connected universe. It allowed more people to go, well, I'm going to go see that, of course. And I think that's another huge indicator.
You're so
Sad
smart.
but true.
So anyway, my point is the good news is we have a new DC movie that I love, and I'm going to continue loving it and watching it for years to come, and that's fine. The box office, as far as I'm concerned, I would have loved to win. It's kind of incidental because there's a reboot coming anyway, and so I ain't going to lose any sleep over it. And I just hope, and I'm just rooting for James Gunn, and I hope I'm excited about his plan. Listening to him talk about his plan on the Michael Rosenbaum podcast was actually very exciting because he seems so happy and excited, and it was really a good listen. But yeah, it is time to close the book on this chapter of DC on film, and it's time to open a new one. That's all I was trying to say.
It's been a hell of a 10 years.
It has. I think I've aged 10 years in the past 10 years.
Right?
And that's
But
and
you
that's
don't
probably
look it, babe.
Oh, that's sweet. Anyway, there's tons more to talk about, and again, I'm sure it will all come via email because the next episode, I'm sure, will be a mailbox episode because already the mailbox is really damn full. So it's only going to get fuller over the next week or so. But let's wrap it up for now and give some final thoughts and some letter grades for The Flash. Let's go ladies first, Kathryn.
Oh, why me?
I thought you were going to say me.
because you're the best.
I genuinely thought you were going to go ladies first, Brendan.
Wives before mistresses, Brendan.
Oh, we can share. I loved it. I mean, talking to you guys about it now, I just want to go see it again. Honestly, if we didn't, have our beautiful child who keeps us from doing that, I probably would go tomorrow. I hope it picks up some steam. I hope that it's not all for naught. I really want to continue to see things of this tone and in this world. And, I would really like to see Ezra's Flash again coming out of this. So I loved it. It really worked for me. I stand by what I said. Top superhero movies I've ever seen. And I will give it an A.
I said what I said.
Bitch. I said what I said.
Hell yeah. You said what you said.
Bitch, I'm from Chicago.
All right. Ladies first, then Grouches. Jamie?
It's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I hope I come around to being more where you guys are at. I'm glad you guys loved it the way you did. I'm not there with you yet. And again, as I put the caveat at the beginning, I reserve the right to change this down the road. But right now, I can't. I'm in the lifeboat hanging off the side of this big old party cruise ship y'all are on right now. That's kind of where I am. I think there is more to like than there is to not, but there are just things about this movie I don't like. But it's entertaining. It's a good time. Entertainment wise, I got to be like in the A to A- territory. Story wise, I'm more in like the character choice wise. In a few cases, I'm really more probably in like the C territory. So I guess logically, I kind of have to land this right around B.
B means you hate it, Jamie.
Yeah, some people do say that.
Welcome to the internet. A B will F you, buddy, in your B. Why you a hater? Okay, sorry, I'm just kidding.
Nah.
No, that is fair enough. So ladies first, then Grouches. Mistresses come last, Brendan.
Well, sometimes not at all.
No, look, your money's on the table, Chocolate.
Wow.
I said it at the start of the podcast. Like, I think it's a really good, fun movie. Did it meet everything, like all the expectations I had? No, but it was never going to. I wanted some wild shit to happen in this movie.
Yes, absolutely.
And look, what the score I'm about to give it, had I seen the Batmobile in action, probably be bumped up a grade. But when I look at the score that I've given it, and then I look at the scores I've given all the other DCEU movies and my ranking and stuff, I think it's sitting comfortably where it is, which is in sixth place. And I've given it an A minus, because the ones that are in front of it are my A pluses, my A's, and it's up there. It's in that top echelon of really good DC comic book movies, and I had a really good time watching it. I can't wait to see it again, and it's one I'll continue to watch and enjoy in the future. And I saw someone on I think in Twitter of all places point out that there's a really wild DC trilogy you can watch now of Batman 89, Man of Steel, and The Flash. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, that's actually not a bad idea. I might do that
You're
one
not
day.
wrong.
But no, it's really good, enjoyable movie. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. Please just go and watch it and make up your own mind. And if you go in with that attitude, I'm sure you will have a good time.
Yeah, I think you said it right, and I think that's what we were trying to get at. Is like, I wish they had just taken the reins off a little more and gone a little more crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. And I think that, like, that was that little twinge of disappointment after the first time, because the movie they showed us in the trailers is the movie we got. And that's just the reality of it. And we thought they were hiding all these crazy things. They weren't. That's still the movie, and that's fine, because I loved the movie. I think it's a great movie. I think it's super entertaining. It's super easy to watch. I think the action is great. I think the superhero stuff is great. But what makes it to me a great movie, other than just a fun one, is that heart in the middle of it. That heart of Barry's story, Barry's journey, Barry's love for his parents. That is the thing that really got me. And if you look at my favorite superhero movies, it's always the ones that hit me in the emotions. And I think that's what this one does that really elevates it. It had a lot to do. It's got a lot of plates spinning, and I think that between Christina Hodson's script and Andy Muschietti's direction, they spin those plates deftly and smartly and very succinctly. Like, I think it's really impressive the amount that they were able to do, and I had a great time going on the ride. So even though, yes, I don't consider it the best comic book movie ever made, I thought those expectations were just too lofty. It's a really great one. And like you said, Brendan, it's not my favorite even DCEU movie. I don't think it quite hits the heights of a Wonder Woman, or gosh, I mean, like, Zack Snyder's Justice League, for that matter. Like, I still think I like those better, but man, this is up in the conversation. So I'm with my lovely wife. I still give it a good solid A. I think it's a hell of a good time and a hell of a good movie.
Cute, we match.
Look at us go.
Man, I'm on the IMDb because I wanted to see what the current fan rating on IMDb is. Whatever you do, don't read the cast list if you haven't seen this movie, because damn,
I
they
saw
give it
that.
all away.
It's all right there on the front page. I know. I noticed that the other day, because I was trying to see if Teddy Sears was on there because of my conversation with Joe, and I was like, oh shit, like, you got Christopher Reeve right up top. Look at you.
But for whatever it's worth, 31,461 fan ratings. It currently has an average rating of 7.4 out of 10. That's pretty respectable.
It is an 86% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
It's a damn good movie. Come on now.
It's good.
Yep. And just real quick, I'm going to say this out loud. For all the people pretending to be outraged that Christopher Reeve is in this movie, you're full of shit. You're full of shit.
What?
Nobody gave a shit when they did it with Paul Walker in Fast and Furious. Nobody gave a shit when they did it in Star Wars. Nobody gave a shit when they did it in Ghostbusters. In fact, in Ghostbusters, everybody applauded, said it was the best thing ever. But when they do it in a DC movie, all of a sudden we're outraged? Sure, Jan. You're fake. You're fake.
That's fucking bullshit. Like,
yep. You're just it's faux outrage. Nobody's buying it. Please. There's the door. Enjoy.
People just looking to be mad about some shit.
People ain't happy unless they mad.
That's the Twitter moniker, isn't it? I mean, isn't that what they just say when you log onto Twitter? Don't come here unless you want to be mad about something.
Yep. Anyway, I was going to acknowledge that real quick just because it came up as I was like, oh, come on.
I love
But
it.
anyway,
My favorite scene in the whole movie.
it was great. And also like his family had to sign off on it. So settle down.
It's so gross.
It's a complete and utter bullshit. It is literally people who wanted to hate the movie and they're trying to find any reason to hate the movie. And so they're like, ooh, I'm going to pretend to be mad about this. Sure, Jan.
I'm with you.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, sorry. You got me there at the end. Damn it. I was being good.
Nah.
I was being so
Don't
good.
be sorry. You're right.
We all love Mad, Andy. We're not going to lie. Like, people expect this shit out of me, but when you do it, it's amazing because it never happens very often.
He's passionate, Andy.
Anyway, all right, let's wrap this thing up, guys. 3 of my favorite people on the planet, and 3 people no other 3 people I'd rather talk about this movie with. So I had a wonderful time. The Flash is out there. Please, I hope you guys loved it too. I hope you enjoyed it. Check it out. If you didn't enjoy it, you know what? That's okay too. That's your prerogative. But we're gonna wrap this thing up. Kathrynn, thanks for putting our daughter to sleep.
You're welcome. Sorry,
I appreciate that. You're the best. But most importantly, thank you for carving out the evening to talk nerd stuff with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It was
You're the best.
a pleasure.
Yeah.
Girl, next time we do this, take my chloroform advice because the hour late start, man, that's not acceptable.
I'm sorry, bro. I wish that would have worked.
Anyway, where can people find you? Where can people go read your wonderful reviews on Letterboxd? Especially your review of the Batman.
Yeah, you can hear all my thoughts of the Batman at Letterboxd. I mean, you can search Kathrynn DeGenova. Or my handle's at LowPanFan.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks. Best movie of all time. Or
see, now I'm going to be a cuck for Kathrynn and Jamie.
It's all right. I'll keep you company.
You know she's my sister in Thanos, dude. I'm just
True. Yeah, or I guess if you're mad about anything I said here, you can find me on Twitter and I'll read it once a year when I log in.
Enjoy that in 2024.
Yeah. I'll just like it and retweet it.
Good.
You are legitimately one of my favorite follows on Letterboxd because you're so succinct and it's just so refreshing and amazing to read some of the things you have to say. Like one day you were just like hitting reviews and I was just sitting there reading them all with like popcorn and an iced tea and I was just like, I love her so much. This is great.
Thanks, Jamie. You're my
even when I don't agree with you, I enjoy reading it because it's never more than like a sentence and it's it's so like. I read some of these ones that are like paragraphs long, which are fine and all, but like you just hit it to the point and you're like, I'm done. I got other things to do.
I mean, no one's paying me to write these things, so I'll tell you what I think. There you go.
All right. Excellent. Jamie, what about you? You're not online, but, in case you ever come back.
You could find me on this show occasionally. I'm probably going to get replaced by Kathrynn because I didn't love The Flash like she does. So Andy's going to be like, F off.
Oh, I could never replace you, Jamie.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, my social media footprint is pretty thin right now. So nothing to really plug there.
That's okay. You're nothing if not one of a kind, Jamie.
Well, thank you.
And honestly, it's probably going to be you and me for Q&A because of my weird schedule. You'll probably be the only one who's like, we can actually align schedules.
We'll figure it out.
Because even me and my wife aren't going to be in the same city for a while.
Yeah, it's true.
Kick her ass out of town and put the pineapple back out.
Ah!
Nights are long and lonely.
Wow.
Anyway, Brendan, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lowy007 and kicking around in the Real Fans group. I just wanted to say too quickly, because we haven't acknowledged it that much on this episode, but 400, it's a pretty big milestone and worth celebrating. And for what it's worth, I still, it's been however many years and I still feel like I came in like halfway or like, I still haven't been here for the majority of the time. And I looked a couple of weeks ago and like we hadn't even hit episode 50 when I first came on the show. So I still to this day feel very privileged to have been invited, not just on a random episode about an animated movie to review, but to be welcomed and embraced into the Holy BatCast family. And and become genuine friends with not just you and Jamie, but so many people because of that is truly one of the things that makes me happy, and I love being involved with this show. And here's to 400 more.
Let's slow your roll there, buddy.
It's a big deal. You guys should feel great about that.
As long as we keep getting the fat ducats for our patrons and our sponsors, I mean, we're all we'll be able to retire on that by 28, 21, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet.
Oh no, that's very sweet, Brendan, and thank you. And yeah, I mean, since you brought it up, it is worth acknowledging. We certainly brought it up at the beginning, but it's the 400th episode. That's a little more like just a regular episode. But man, we just did 200,
right?
Didn't we just do 200? Oh, but
300
yeah, I mean,
was a blink ago.
What a ride! Yeah, no kidding.
I have a distinct memory of you doing the one where everybody sent you a message.
That was 200? I
was sitting 4 feet away from you while you were recording it, and I'm like, that felt like not that long ago.
It was not that long ago.
Wow.
But no, I mean, and 400 episodes, holy crap. I mean, Jamie was on the very first one with me, and I love that he's been on this journey with me ever since. And yeah, someone I see in person once a year or two, is someone I talk to once a week or twice. And same thing with Brendan, who we've still never met in person. Brendan might have the worst BO in the world, and I would never know it because I've never met him.
I don't, because I use Manscaped.
Thank God. I'd be so heartbroken if we finally met and I was like, oh,
see, I'm a company man. I can toe the line.
He smells like Vegemite.
But yeah, I mean, seriously, you guys, two of my best friends, thanks to the show and our constant conversations, and to Brendan's point, every other person that we've met because of the show, who's been on the show, who's done a guest spot, who's been a patron, who has bought something from Manscaped, who sent a random email or a nice supportive tweet, or we've been through so much in 400 episodes, and as luck would have it, 400 is yet another one where it got a little personal, but that's just the way it is. And I try to be an open book, and the fact that anytime I have let myself share or overshare or whatever, the amount of support that I've received from the listeners, you guys are the extended family. I say Bat family not just because it's a thing, but I truly feel that way. So for everybody who has listened and supported, and again just sent a kind word, or maybe he's never said a word and just quietly listens in the shadows, like Brendan when me and my wife get together. Anyone
he can learn a thing or two.
See, Brandon, it's the little man in the boat. It's the little man in
the boat. But is it the Bat boat?
We'll just call him Robin. This is the little Robin in the Bat boat. But sorry, I didn't mean to go there. But anyway, no, honestly, truly, for everybody who listens and supports, it just means the world to us. When we started this, it's just been really a privilege to watch this show grow and create this community and have fun while we do it most of the time. And through ups and downs and everything in between, it's really been a highlight. And so, no, I just thank you to every single person who's listening right now or who has listened in the past. It means the world to me. And so, yeah, thank you for being part of our Bat family.
Remember when this was the side project show?
Yeah, right.
And Real Fans was like the once a week thing.
Yeah, we'll do it once a month. How about that?
But cheers to everybody out there that's been on the journey with us. It's been a great time. I still love doing this. I don't get to do it as frequently as I'd like because life gets in the way and busy and everything else. But this is still one of the things I really love to do. I talk about it with people I work with and friends in the neighborhood. And when I'm out drinking with pals and everything like that, they're like, what do you do with your free time? I'm like, let me tell you about this geeky podcast I do with my friends. And, I love doing this. And I've told Andy for years, even if we just do this to have a conversation with each other and one person listens, big deal, We'll just keep doing it until we get tired of doing it. And I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm not tired of doing it yet.
Nope.
Sometimes it gets annoying, I'll admit, but that's just life,
Well, we'll take it 100 at a time. So we'll see how we feel in 500.
Okay.
But Anyway, I already told you guys where to find me. That's where we are going to wrap this up. So happy 400, guys, and happy Father's Day. And thank you to Kathryn and to Brendan and to Jamie for all joining me for this conversation. I'm glad we were able to make it happen despite travel and schedules and all the above. So, but most of all, for everybody listening, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for listening. And we really appreciate it. Please do follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Another thing that you can do to support us that's super simple is if you like the podcast, just rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. A nice rating goes a long way. If you don't like us, don't rate us. It's fine. It's fine. Just move on with your life. It's okay. But if you like the show, that's a great way to show your support as well. Follow the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. You will find us. I'm sure there are a lot of emails coming our way, but if you want to join and send one our way about the Flash or whatever, send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. We love to hear from you. We love to read it. And I'm sure that's what we're going to do on our next episode. Check out our friends over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. And if you're going to make a purchase, please use the promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. But that'll do it for our 400th episode of Holy BatCast. On behalf of Kathryn, Brendan, and Jamie, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. And for everybody out there celebrating, I hope you guys have a wonderful Father's Day. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
Y'all know what my favorite thing about the DeGenovas is?
I
They're the
can't
only
imagine.
people with a mortgage that never want to be at home.
Oh
my God.
That's not true.
I want to be home so bad.
I mean, I am home right now, but not for very long, and it's not cool.
Yeah.
I want to be home.
I want us to be home together.
We'll be home together in August.
It'll be great. August is going to be terrific.
Yeah.